Yo, 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 welcome back to New Rockstars. We're starting the stream a little early just to do kind of an audio sync here. We just want to work out the kinks before we get into our trailer reaction here. So, is the audio synced for you guys? I just want to make sure that it sounds good. And if it sounds good, we'll get going. It's really, really cool to be here with you guys this morning. Oh my gosh, we have over 1,500 of you guys in the live stream. How's the audio sync? Audio synced? Comments look good. A lot of comments. A lot of insanity. Good synced. Wow. Got it. Brian, we got it going from the get-go. The multiverse gods, the Beyonders have blessed us this morning. All right, then let's get into it. Guys, welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss. It's here. The Doomsday trailer is here. Those Marvel Studios guys actually did it. Those madmen did it. They put it up on YouTube on a Monday morning at the start of the workday, 6 a.m. Pacific time. I was awake when it dropped just because I suspected this would come. I'm really excited that they released this for everybody on YouTube at the start of the week. This way, Marvel Studios can kind of own the week. And that means for San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday, when they're going to be at Hall H, they can reveal some other stuff. And I'm going to be in there in Hall H. I'm going to be answering any questions in this live stream about Doomsday. But then, like, whatever we see at Hall H, I'll be back here on YouTube kind of answering whatever questions and describing whatever I see. It makes me even more excited now for Saturday. I was a little worried that they would just wait to release this trailer on Saturday, but now we get it now, and we're all going to go through it together. Actually, I've already shot my full analysis of it. That's how I've been spending the past few hours. Our editors are working on that video right now. It's going to be well over 30 minutes, maybe even over 40 minutes. It's going to come out to the channel, on the channel later today. It's going to be a great video. I think we found a lot of information in it. So just to kind of clarify some things, this is the same CinemaCon trailer, the trailer for Doomsday that they showed in April to attendees at CinemaCon, and I made a few videos describing what I saw. There's a couple differences though. Yes, there's an added Loki shot, but there's also like one or two shots that they removed from it, I think to keep the time or just the general pacing of the edit in sync. But if you have questions for this, let me know in the chat. I'm gonna be doing my best to answer questions. Before I was able to join the chat, Berg was in chat asking people for stuff. And then we have this question from Kenzie. Oh, this super chat. Thanks, Kenzie. Asking, could the blip put this Earth on Doom's radar? And Kenzie, I think you also had another question with a super chat. Could the snap or blip you would activated people's X gene? Oh, so like that's how the X gene activated is through the snap or the blip. Yeah, I think that's a very possible answer, that the gamma radiation released by the Infinity Stones, the 4 times that they were snapped, Thanos dusting everyone, Thanos using the stones to destroy the stones, Hulk snapping everyone back to reality, and Tony snapping out Thanos' forces 4 times, that's 4 huge blasts of gamma radiation that could have awakened people's X genes that were normally dormant. I think that's a great way to justify that. But then to answer your other question, could the blip put this Earth on Doom's radar? I think there were other things that put this Earth on Doom's radar. I think it was more like the time heist. It was the way the Avengers altered the timeline to steal the Infinity Stones and Steve's choice to stay in the past. I think that created a new universe that branched out of the 616 universe. And I think the 616 universe is anomalistic in a couple other ways. The thing is, I don't want to do an inauthentic reaction because I have already seen this trailer. You know, I'm not going to pretend like it's my first time watching it, but I'll kind of go through it with you guys so that we can all kind of like live in it together. Going to quickly just scrub through what I see. The placard with the address of Xavier's mansion, school for gifted youngsters. This is a shot of Charles Xavier reacting to an incursion, and you can see like the rim of a blue atmosphere with an explosion. So I think what we're going to see are 3 atmospheres that are kind of bubbled together. Charles Xavier shielding himself. You can see the reflection of that Earth on the outside of the screen here. This is like an upgraded version of the X-Mansion. We haven't seen the X-Mansion look exactly like this before. There's like stained glass and these kind of like classical Roman or Greek statues that were not really part of the decor in the past. They built a new X-Mansion set that has like a big grand staircase and a big like kind of ballroom entrance area with a balcony that goes around the perimeter. We never saw the X-Mansion look like that in any of the Fox era films. So When Kevin Feige's like, it felt nostalgic to go back to the old sets. I'm like, well, you're not talking about this set. You must be talking about Cerebro. All right, so yeah, here's our Doctor Doom, ladies and gents. You can see it's fairly comic accurate, this green lens flare, and there's a lot here that I go into in the breakdown. These clasps that are just super interesting. The sun's getting real low. Yeah, Doom is in the backyard of the X-Mansion. He's kneeling here doing a superhero landing. Maybe we can just play the part where it's just Downey speaking.
Before this day is done, we shall be faced with an unthinkable decision.
Faced with an unthinkable decision. What do you guys think of Downey's accent? I kind of like the Latvian accent. He's still recognizable as Robert Downey Jr., but yeah, he's doing kind of a Romanian thing. I wouldn't want a bigger swing than just like Romanian, Eastern European. Sora says he nailed his Slavic accent, kind of broadening it to just be a general Eastern European or Slavic accent. I think you can only really hear it on specific words, like unthinkable decision. Yeah, but I think we're already seeing some of the acting choices that make the casting of Robert Downey Jr. justified, and we won't really know fully until we see him unmasked, see him in more scenes than just a trailer. But so far, I'm like confident. I'm confident that they know what they're doing here. So one change that was from what I saw at CinemaCon, this was just a black screen, a black background. So I'm kind of curious why they left that out. Nothing really different in the comic art, flapping imagery. This is a new Avengers Tower, as we described it. We saw this in Daredevil Born Again. That is not a fictional building. That's a JP Morgan Tower that just was finished constructed in 2025. There's a lot, if you haven't been to New York in the past 5 to 10 years, there's a lot of huge new high-rises that are everywhere. But yeah, Chrysler Building here. Empire State Building would be kind of the vantage point we're at currently. Like, we're kind of seeing this from the observation deck of the Empire State Building. Even though it wouldn't be that much taller than Avengers Tower. Here we go, Avengers walking in. Yeah, this is all similar to what I saw in April, but already I'm loving the costumes of it. I think there is Steve Rogers behind them here. This is picking up right after the events of the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. Sam and Scott are here. I mean, just all these characters in a room together is kind of wonderful, right? The new Avengers Tower. Look at the light coming in from outside. It's kind of an interesting reddish, orangish color. That's because there's another Earth in the sky. And in the background screen here, you can see 3 different Earths that are coming together. And then specifically Reed kind of pointing out that the cores of these planets seem to be drawn together. Looks like 3 different colors. We got a blue, a pink, and a yellow. There's also a countdown clock here, right here. And you can see it ticking down to 6. So yeah, we're talking about incursions here. 10005, 616, 828 are the 3 universes that are colliding, and it seems like their magnetic cores are being drawn together in a specific way. A lot of people are like, there must be another character here who was removed digitally from the shot. I've broken down so many of these trailers. There's only a few instances where that's actually been true. It was the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer where they removed the other 2 Peters from the shot, and it wasn't just one shot. There was like multiple shots in that trailer where I'm like, seems like a lot was removed here. We'll see next week with Spider-Man Brand New Day if that has any kind of removal trickery that happened in the edit of the trailer. But every other time, I think every other time where I've looked at it, I mean, Avengers Endgame certainly had stuff that was removed from the trailer, but it was like the suits that characters were wearing. It wasn't entire characters removed or added to a shot. I want to answer a few more questions here. Thank you for your super chat, Aaron, saying, I really don't think this is our Captain America. I think you're referring to the end here. Are you saying maybe it's a Captain Hydra? I think there's a strong likelihood we see like a Captain Hydra variant of Steve Rogers from another universe when Battleworld gets revealed at the end of this movie. I do think this is our Steve Rogers, though. I think this is the Steve Rogers that we saw in the first Doomsday teaser, holding the baby. I think he's got the beard and the longer hair now because that shot would have been like 1950 or 51 in that alternate universe. This would be a Steve Rogers that would have come from like 1970 if we assume that he's in the Fantastic Four universe, the 828 universe. It was specifically around the year 1969 or 1970 when Dr. Doom kidnapped Franklin Richards, and I think that's what's going to kick off the whole Fantastic Four angle of the plot, and I think he's with them in that universe. Now, whether or not he created that universe by staying with Peggy Carter at the end of Endgame is one question, but I do think he's going to be with Thor, as all of these characters, Thor, Herbie, the Fantastic Four, Steve, I think they're all on this ship when it gets to Avengers Tower. I just do think this shot is our Steve. I'm not trying to overlook or over-examine it. Who do we think is standing behind Steve at the end of the trailer? I'm pretty sure that's Johnny. Right here, I think is what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Johnny. Yeah, and you can tell because he's got the kind of white turtleneck. And if you look at him in this shot here, when they're all coming in, yeah, he's got this kind of high-popped collar with a white turtleneck, and the jacket opens down in such a way that I'm pretty sure they're on the Fantastic Four ship, and that's Johnny back there. You can also glimpse like a little bit of a towhead, a little bit of blonde hair. The Swit Sports Show asking, do you think we'll get Wolverine in this movie? Maybe that's what they reveal at Hall H. I think like we had a whole great sneak peek episode yesterday that you should go watch where we were running through the different scenarios, even including the scenario we're now in, that they would drop the CinemaCon trailer on Monday. And we looked historically at past times Marvel has been at Hall H, specifically 2 years ago, and what they really need to do to like hype people back up who have been kind of dormant on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think they're smart by releasing this trailer on YouTube, and because it is a YouTube moment. This should have been on YouTube like months ago, but I'm just grateful that we have it now before we get into the weekend. And I think once we get to Saturday's Hall H panel, we'll see some other big stars for Doomsday. And while I do think they might make some announcements for X-Men or for Secret Wars, I really do think it's mostly going to be a Doomsday panel. But then if you look at what we're seeing here, this trailer on YouTube is like the first half of like a week of Doomsday marketing. The second half is something to where, okay, how do you make the people who waited in line for 18 hours in San Diego make that wait feel worth it, is you bring out big stars on stage, and it has to be big stars. I'm sure Downey and Evans are going to be there. But you have to reveal some people. And there are other big names that we feel like will be in Doomsday that have not so far been officially confirmed by the studio. There was that Easter Sunday Instagram post from Robert Downey Jr.'s Instagram. And there were other eggs in that basket that included egg designs for Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. And, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch and Tom Holland have not been confirmed yet. You could bring out one or both of those guys. You could bring out a Hugh Jackman or a Ryan Reynolds. I think a good indicator will be on Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. before the Marvel panel will be an Apple Studios panel. And one of the things they're going to be talking about is that movie Mayday that John Francis Daley and Goldstein directed that's going to be starring Ryan Reynolds. If he's there for that panel, clock it, because I think he's going to be coming back. He's just going to stick around backstage at Hall H, and he'll be back out on stage with them for Doomsday. Because we have some answer as to how Gambit escaped the void at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine to be in this movie, right? And I think like Deadpool is that answer. Okay, another question. Thank you for asking me all Mephisto questions. Bring them. Due to the Doctor Doom connection. You know, I don't think we're going to see Sacha Baron Cohen in this movie. And I think they're even doing something different. Here, I'm going to bring up the... of course, yes, Mephisto is deeply connected to Cynthia Von Doom, Doctor Doom's mother. It's not just like something we're making up. It's real. And that's why he learned magic. They're two very heavily intertwined people. However, I think they might be doing something different where maybe Cynthia Von Doom in this movie could be Doctor Doom's wife. Maybe that'll be the name of his daughter. Yeah, I just don't think that they're going to bring in Mephisto to be so much part of it. Sorry, I'm taking so long. I just want to show you guys this poster. Oh, not going over there. Okay, but we've seen the poster. The poster shows like Doctor Doom looking up at this big rug tapestry that shows like a mother and child that I think is Doctor Doom. It could be Doctor Doom as a boy and his mother, or it could be Doctor Doom's daughter and his wife, who are both dead, that he honored with this tapestry. I'm honestly 50-50.
Can I see the poster?
Yes, you won't drag over, because I'm an old man.
This is looking like an escape.
I'm like, I don't think I will tell you about that other story, Sam.
All right, but it's probably over here now. You can see it. I'm not giving, let's see, I'm not accidentally revealing anything. Ha! No tabs visible. This is the tapestry art that I was talking about. It's really cool art that tells us a lot of information of like Doctor Doom. Like, it looks like an older photo of almost Madonna and Child. So this could be Cynthia and Victor as a younger age. But like, would he have a tapestry of himself? Maybe. But we see her in this angelic place. There's definitely a figure down here that's not Mephisto, but like, yeah, this is kind of what it's all about for him. I think it's interesting that they're both kind of framed above this globe, and I think it shows this is what Doom wants, a suit of armor around his own world, a utopian battle world where the people he loves are always protected. So, yeah, I just don't think they're going to mention Mephisto in this movie, to answer your question. And I don't need Mephisto to be in this movie, I just have to say that out loud. Okay, let's get back to the rest of the trailer here. Did you guys get your tickets yet? I was able to get a ticket through Infinity Vision. A Thursday afternoon ticket. I always do that. I always like use my ANC stubs or whatever else to buy a ticket, just because I don't always know if I'm going to get a press screening or anything like that. And I'm always going to see a movie multiple times if I'm going to break it down for you guys. So yes, I was able to get a ticket by myself, and it wasn't as hard as it was for the Odyssey, but I think there were fewer screenings available when Odyssey opened tickets, where I was really specifically gunning for a 70 millimeter IMAX at City Walk in LA, and I was able to get one for like Thursday night late. But for this, there was like a lot of different options, and I was able to get one, but I also got to it early before I think a lot of the LA people were even awake. Here in LA, people sleep in. Another question. Do you think Doom goes to the Void to recruit, hence why Gambit is fighting Shang-Chi? Oh, so it was Doom who rescued Shang-Chi from the Void. I like that theory a lot. I mean, that's a really great theory. Does Doom need Gambit on his team, I guess would be my question. Nothing against Gambit. I just think, like, it kind of seems like Gambit started his story in the X-Mansion with the other X-Men. It doesn't seem like he's arriving with Doctor Doom. But either way, that could also explain, like, if he arrives with Doctor Doom, it'd be weird that, like, these two people who arrived at the X-Mansion from other places are just fighting here at the X-Mansion, rather than assuming that they're aligned. I think Gambit's just one of the other X-Men. But, hey, your theory is as valid as my theories. Hey, another question. I've been watching you since the WandaVision days in 2021. First time catching the stream. Hey, glad we could get you on the stream here. Arc It to Go, 1983. And thanks for watching us in WandaVision. It was Agatha all along, Mephisto train forever. When will Berg announce that he is the new Professor X? I think Berg would make an amazing Professor Charles Xavier. He is kind of the Professor X of The Office here at New Rockstars. He's always sitting. He always says, "To me, my rock stars," and he always puts Brian in his like relive your trauma beam. So I think he'd make a great Professor X. I think he'd look really good bald. A bald Berg, I think, is something that we all need. What does everyone think about the first round of showtimes being Infinity Vision only? I think I roll my eyes at this branding of Infinity Vision. I think it's very, very silly. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to simplify PLF screenings, because I think right now it's kind of confusing to a lot of viewers. Like, well, what does it mean to see it in IMAX 70 millimeter versus Dolby versus Screen X versus whatever else? But I think Infinity Vision as a term doesn't tell you any further information. What I really love is when, like, you know, whether it's Ryan Coogler for Sinners or Christopher Nolan with The Odyssey, a lot of marketing for those movies specifically told people, this is what it looks like if you see it here. This is what it looks like if you see it here. You could go to IMAX's website for The Odyssey and see the differences and kind of make your decisions based on that, because it is an investment for people. Infinity Vision just feels like a stamp of approval from Disney and Marvel Studios that, like, you could see this movie in this big PLF, but it doesn't tell us, like, how the Doomsday viewing experience will be different if we see it in Dolby versus see it in Screen X. And so this morning I was, like, looking at different, I could see AMC Prime or I could see Screen X. And I like Screen X for some movies. Specifically, I can't wait to see Shang-Chi for my second viewing experience on Screen X, because I think it sounds like Destin Daniel Cretton really worked with that Korean company to try to like shoot a lot of the sequences to really make that great. Overall, I like the frame of it, though. I don't need the immersion. I want to see... I love the mise en scène of these directors. I will even say it like Sebastian or like a character in Ratatouille when I say mise en scène. I like the challenge of a director being limited by a specific film aspect ratio, as opposed to what if we just had screens on our peripherals? It's just like a different viewing experience, but I like that they're experimenting. I like that like they're thinking of trying to think beyond that to just get people out of their homes into like a cool different event space. And that's how IMAX started. We needed to experiment with these kind of things in order to push the overall technology and art form forward. So I like alternate PLFs as an option. I just think having to go through this other stamp of approval of Infinity Vision is just kind of confusing to me. And it like, because it was unveiled by Disney, I have to assume that there's like some kind of profit angle to it. It's not about trying to educate viewers. It's trying to say like, well, we're not going to have IMAX for Doomsday's release because it's all going to be tied up with Dune Part 3. But what we do have is Infinity Vision. And they won't tell us like what that means, other than just like, it means that you can find the closest PLF to you and watch it there. I'm like, but I think people are savvy enough to be able to do that. Like, I think if there's parents who are buying tickets for their teenage kids, or if you're just like you and your film bro buddies are just looking for a night out, you know where the nearest one is. You don't need that kind of education. You can find it out on your own. And like, you know, another way to do it would just get like the directors out there, get the studio head out there, get the actors out there to make the promos the way like Ryan Coogler have, to where each of those promos, like all the Odyssey promos were like cool little educational behind the scenes featurettes that felt like watching the Lord of the Rings extended edition behind the scenes making of, to where it's like as almost as cool as watching the movie. That's good marketing, telling the story of your story, not coming up with some kind of branded thing that Jenny Nicholson's going to roll her eyes at in an amazing 4-hour live stream in a few years. Another super chat from, even though we all knew what the trailer would be, how much more stoked are you actually seeing it? Bumped my hype up like crazy. Yeah, I guess that's a question. I know a lot of you guys watching this probably saw some New Rockstars videos where I described it. And one of the things that I wanted to try to illustrate to people is like, my description can only do so much justice. Oh, we'll get to this in a second. I really do think that, you know, when we saw this at the Coliseum in Vegas, like the crowd was on its feet. I never heard a roar like that throughout the week that I was there. And I think seeing this it's a perfectly cut trailer for YouTube, and I'm glad they released it on YouTube. And I am really hyped seeing it. I found even more details scrubbing through it on YouTube, but I get that I'm not like just the average viewer who like was going to make the decision on whether or not I'm even going to go see this movie or care about it based off of a 2-minute trailer. But I think they really did the assignment. They gave us a lot of Doom. We got to hear his voice. We got to see interesting characters aligning. And we got to see the strange alchemy that Kevin Feige has talked about. Like, why are Gambit and Shang-Chi fighting? That never was on my bingo card. The only thing where I'm like, oh, I wish that they had done a little bit more. And I hate to even have this kind of mindset. You know, this whole reunion between Thor and Steve Rogers is like, okay, cool. I love this. I was hyped for this when I saw this in April. But like, you know, it is recreating the Endgame moment. It's a little on the nose. And I think just to shut up all the people who are rolling their eyes at heated up leftovers of this, they could have given us something else. Even put the Loki thing at the end of it, you know, or reorder it so like this is the money shot. I mean, Doom stopping it, stopping the gauntlet using his gauntlet to stop the battle axe is like insanely epic. I mean, this moment is incredible. I also want to just give credit where it's due. You know, there's a world where this stuff could look really bad. And I don't know, there's going to be some people online who are like, oh, it looks very VFX, looks really bad. But just like the lighting, the color grading of shots like this, I really dig it. It looks really good. It looks like good on a level that the Russo brothers did not really seem to even be going for in Endgame. Like, you can go back and look at many of the shots in Endgame even after it was released on 4K digital. And I know it was a 2019 film, but it was also one of the most expensive films ever made. And already this looks better. You could tell that there is like they're trying to go for a more cinematic look, as opposed to something that is just like trying to cram as many glubshitos and Marvel member berries as possible. That's a very insulting criticism of Avengers Endgame, and I don't really feel that way about Avengers Endgame, but I'm just kind of being an advocate for the people who look at things like Endgame and the Russo brothers' past work and say like, oh, doesn't this look bad? I'm excited to have this team now be working with department heads who really care about the color temperature of the shot, the how in focus it is, the relationship between the characters and their backgrounds, the positioning of the shot. And while there are some shots in this that do kind of look like, this kind of looks Endgame Final Battle-esque, right? A debris field. But like these particular little moments here, like a sense of natural lighting, even though this is certainly on a soundstage, I just like how this looks, The guy who's doing the color grading for this is the same guy who's doing the color grading for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I think Kazra Farahani is a production designer who also did the production design on Loki and Fantastic Four First Steps. And you could sense like a kind of like film language confidence in whatever story they're trying to tell. There's no humor. They're not using any kind of needle drop music. They're just using Alan Silvestri's score. And they're trying to sell us on a scary apocalyptic event that's even worse for these characters than Infinity War and Endgame were. If you go back and look at the Russo's trailer for Captain America Civil War, it was similarly grim, fatalistic. We really thought characters were going to die. And while no one really did die in Civil War, other than the character Anthony Russo played, or Joe Russo played, I really do think a lot of these characters are going to die here as Battleworld forums. Just teed up your question here. Who do you think is dying in this film and why? I think there's a good chance that poor Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes dies. I think the Russo brothers, you got to think about like what characters did they have a relationship with from all the way back in Captain America Winter Soldier. And I think one of these three guys, look to your left, look to your right, not all of them will be alive at the end of the night. Like, specifically Sebastian Stan's going to be in the Batman Part 2. Now, that's not coming out in 2027 anymore. It got pushed to February 2018. That makes me think that there's a better chance that he lives than before. I still think that one of these three guys is going to die. I think Loki's going to die because we've already seen him die. I think statistically some of these Talo Kanil or Black Panther characters are not going to survive. I think this version of Thor will die, but I think we'll see another version of Chris Hemsworth's Thor as kind of like the Thor core from Battleworld in Secret Wars. So I don't think we're done with him, the actor, but I think this version of Thor is donezo. Fun comment here. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. RDJ said, hold my beer. Speaking of Christopher Nolan. It's crazy. It's one of these Christopher Nolan lines from his earlier eras that like sounds like on the surface, it's just like, ooh, good line. And then you think about it and you're like, wait, does that line make sense? And then you rewatch the movie and think about it a third time. And you're like, oh no, that's like the best line ever written. And then you watch the movie a fourth time and you're like, wait, does that line make sense? Is it actually that impressive? Like, why is that the binary? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain? That's not logically accurate at all. You could, there's at least a third option where you could live long enough and not necessarily be a villain. You could just live long enough and just be someone who's staying completely neutral to the conflict. But I think that's like, it speaks to the extremes that Aaron Eckhart's Harvey Dent was living at. He is taking such big swings, referring to Julius Caesar, that you can either be martyred, die before your time, or if you just grow old enough, that kind of elderly wisdom is going to make you too proud, too confident, too powerful, and that power is going to absolutely corrupt you. That's why I'm saying, like, these Nolanisms just get too readily posted as like these tattoos or yearbook quotes without people really thinking about what it means for the character. But the more you think about it, it's actually really cool. Similar line in The Odyssey. I won't spoil it here in case you guys haven't seen it, because I understand it's hard to get tickets right now. But there's a similar line in the way that Odysseus describes an experience he went through in the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. where it's one of these like similarly repetitive lines that kind of echoes itself and has some interesting language that a lot of people are talking about. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, great line. And then I kept having to think about it. And I'm like, the more I thought about it, the more I just kind of started thought spiral. That passage is one of the best passages Christopher Nolan has ever written. That's why I think the screenplay for The Odyssey is the best screenplay he's ever written. I think there's certain things about the plot structure of Inception or Interstellar that are just brilliant. But just like, or Memento, obviously, his structure of that is incredible. But just like the way characters describe their psychological experiences that just kind of strike me coldly in the heart. Blew my mind. I think Odyssey is going to be the film to beat this year. I think so far it's my favorite movie of the year. It's just transcendent. Okay, another super chat here. X-Men 97 has me hyped up for all the X-Men projects. You know what? Yeah, totally. X-Men 97 is doing an amazing job telling the story of the X-Men. It's been the best on-screen Apocalypse we've seen, best on-screen Kang we've seen. This is exactly what we want from these characters, and it's doing an amazing job. I love that show, and I hope that other people feel the way you do, that people realize that you don't have to have these event films. Like, I have full confidence in the Mutant Saga. If they just kind of follow the roadmap that, the team behind X-Men 97 is following, the Claremont era is not an era. It just kind of refers to like a decade plus of great melodramatic storytelling that involve like the coming and goings of a lot of different villains. It's not the same way that like, I'm trying to think, like the Civil War was an era, an event. Like, anyone who says that Marvel Studios is like just kind of desperate with Avengers Doomsday does not. I think they didn't watch the X-Men animated series in the 90s, or they're not watching X-Men 97, just because like Marvel Studios has the ripest, richest period of stories now that were not even touched on in the Fox era films for a mutant saga. Looking back at the Fox era films, many of them were really, really good, but they were not kind of like classic X-Men storytelling. And there's like, I don't know, there's at least 8 movies that they could do throughout the 2030s that could be like considered the Renaissance heyday of Marvel Studios that will make us look back on the Infinity Saga and be like, whoa, damn. That Infinity Saga and Multiverse Saga, it's amazing that they did as well as they did with the limited options they have, because now it's like watching Nolan cook with the Odyssey. Part of it is like, it's the greatest story ever told. Imagine if you had our greatest filmmaker telling the greatest story. Imagine if you had like our greatest franchise builders, great filmmakers, great like cinematic universe world builders who could tell this kind of story in an amazing sandbox. And you could get 10 great years out of that. So, yeah, I'm super excited. Are the 10 Rings going to play an important role? Well, they're going to whoop Gambit's ass, but I don't think we're going to get an answer to the question of what the 10 Rings were summoning as a beacon in that 10 Rings, that Shang-Chi post-credit scene. I don't know. I think it's easy to go back to that post-credit scene and say, oh, they were a beacon alerting for incursions, like a carbon monoxide alarm, just telling us like, there have been too many incursions in this reality. So that could be something that was like pinging and Dr. Doom's tech in the Doomstat. Can you stack rack who you think will survive and not make it in Secret Wars, like a top 10? Thanks. I can't do an organized top 10 off the dome here, but I have given you a couple different options. I do think that most of the Thunderbolts, minus maybe Bucky or Red Guardian, I think Red Guardian's not going to make it. But I think Yelena will survive, and I think Sentry will survive as well, although he's going to take a beating in this movie. I think Doctor Doom is going to use Sentry to like siphon Loki's powers. I think Sam is going to survive. I think Shuri's going to survive, and I think like Steve Rogers. Well, either like the old timers like Steve Rogers or Thor might die, but I think Steve Rogers is going to live just because I think that old man at the end of Endgame is this Steve in the future. So I think he has to survive. But we might see characters die and respawn. So I don't think it's about the deaths of these characters the way it was for Infinity War. I think it's about like what happens to their homes. I think seeing the continents of each of these worlds, the skylines being destroyed, billions of people screaming out in terror, I think it's a bigger, crazy Cecil B. DeMille shot than just like certain characters just croaking, because we've seen that before in Russo brothers Marvel movies. Talking about Doom's crest in a similar place as the arc reactor. Let's take a look. I don't remember seeing. I don't see a particular crest here. But, oh, you're talking this. Okay, so I think it's just the angle of the shot. I think that's a shoulder pauldron. It's kind of right here over the collarbone. Thank you for your super chat. In Infinity War, Thanos killed the enemy of the first movie by killing Loki and showing growth and power. Do you think we'll see something like that again? Yeah, I do think we get the Thanos moment of Doctor Doom plunging his hand in Thanos' chest and turning him into a skeleton. I do think we get that in this movie. I think we see that in an alternate timeline, or maybe that's something that like we see in Battleworld, because I think New Xandar is going to be one of the sections of Battleworld. That's how we're going to get Nova. And in that Battleworld, maybe it's like a world, instead of Annihilus winning in New Xandar, it was Thanos winning in that reality. And so it's like Thanos at the end of Infinity War or Endgame, how he's like, I'm gonna tear it apart atom by atom and start over from scratch. Maybe there's a universe in Battleworld where it's that, where Thanos won. And then we think, oh God, King Thanos, he's sitting on the skull of thrones that, you know, the concept artists talked about. And instead, it's Doctor Doom who shows up and just jerks him right in that moment and turns him into the latest skeleton that tops that pile. That's what I want to see. Free idea, Marvel Studios. You don't have to pay me for it. Hey, thanks for your donation, Jacob. Appreciate you, buddy. Texaco with another super chat. Do you think Doom goes to the Void to recruit? Hence why we see Gambit. Oh, I think you asked that question already. I like that theory. I have a different idea that would require Deadpool, but I think if you're not going to have Ryan Reynolds in this movie, I think that's the next best theory. Just giving us some flow state. Thank you. Another just random question here. If Doom kills Loki in front of Thor again, I'm walking out of the room. You're not leaving. You're not walking out of the room. I think, like, I don't know how much Marvel acting Tom Hiddleston has. I think there will be another version of him in Secret Wars, but I wouldn't be surprised if after Secret Wars, he just kind of dies with the multiverse saga. Another gold coin. Whoa. Whoa, look at you guys. Thanks, guys. Do you think Thor is saying it's not possible to Loki at the end? You know, I had thinking about this. I don't think he's saying that's not possible, looking at just Steve Rogers, because he knows that Steve Rogers went somewhere at the end of Endgame. I don't think it's that crazy for someone who's lived through the time heist and the multiverse saga. If anything, it's crazier for Steve Rogers to see Thor, who lost all that weight. He should say it's not possible. I think they're referring to, I think there's a third person in this room, and I'm not talking about Johnny Storm behind Steve here. I think there's Downey in this room. I think there's like this variant of Tony Stark in this room, and someone who both of these guys watched die. I think that's more of a it's not possible thing. And he's just saying like, but my name is Victor. And they're like, do you want to tell us your last name, Victor? And he goes, no last name. I will not tell you my last name. Because if you did, it's a little awkward if your last name's Doom. I think they're both kind of shocked, and he's going to say, I'm just a variant of Tony Stark. I am a billionaire playboy philanthropist. Just trust me. I have the solution to the... Man, Downey has to do that accent the whole movie. I think he's going to do a better job than I am, which is just doing a Russian accent. He's going to come to them as a friend, I think, at first. And then he'll reveal himself as a villain. Here's a theory. Thanks for your super chat. Captain America is our Steve pulled from time and then put back in time, like the Stones. All in all, this movie looks sick. Thoughts? Agreed with you in that it looks sick. Put back in time. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying here. I pulled from time and put back in time. So like Steve extracted by the TVA instead of going into the ice? I mean, Steve already kind of is the man out of time. He was put into the ice for 60-something years and then resurrected. So I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that. But I do think that this is the Steve from the end of Endgame, the one who had the baby. Just a few years after he had that baby, now he has a beard. Hey, thanks for the gift membership, Jamie. Appreciate you. Score of the Odyssey 1 to 10. 10 out of 10. I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd. It's my favorite movie of the year. 10 out of 10. I believe Bucky may die in the X-Mansion. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Bucky's... I don't know if he'll die in the X-Mansion or somewhere else. Because I kind of feel like a character's death should be meaningful to their history. I think this is Battle World here. I think it's the Void that we're seeing. But I don't know. I quickly want to talk about this. Okay, so this was not in the CinemaCon trailer. This is a new shot of Loki in a TVA analyst uniform holding an ID badge that we never saw in the Loki series. But it does have the Yggdrasil Worlds Tree configuration that kind of represents the sacred timeline that Loki is now, as God of Stories, holding together. This iconography was never part of the TVA in the 12 episodes of the Loki series, but you do kind of see like the strands of time going into the tree. Some of them end in nodes that do not continue. Some of them flower into fruit, you could say. Maybe each of these fruits represents the ending of that universe. Some of them do not have them and are continuing to grow. But it is a tree that I think it must represent Loki after he has kind of taken over the TVA as the God of Stories. And I guess he's mobile. He's not anchored to that throne in the way that I thought he was. And he's wearing his TVA analyst uniform that he was wearing. That high collar is specifically from Loki season 1, episode 2, when Mobius kind of puts him as the variant labeled jacket. And Loki pretty quickly stops wearing that jacket. I think it's only in episode 2, once he goes to Lamentis 1 with Sylvie, he stops wearing the jacket. And then in episode 4, he's back in the TVA, goes down to the Void. In episode 5, he's in the Void. Episode 6, he's at like the Citadel at the end of time. We don't ever see him back in this jacket. It's only that one episode that from June 2021. So I don't remember this particular image of him ever smiling for a photo. And the number is the ProRes, but I just saw it. It's 414-620-701-401-220. I wasn't able to find specifically any specific numerical relevance to that. Also, yeah, Time Variance Authority, that is a TVA logo, but they never had like ID badges like this. Loki's temporal numerical designation was L1130. So I'll be looking into this a lot. I obviously love kind of numerical references in the TVA. We don't know where he is. A lot of theories out there is that he's in Steve Rogers' house, kind of warning him. While I think that's like a cool idea, if we're saying that this was like this is like a scene from that period of time in Loki's journey in the Loki series, Loki never really got away from Mobius during episode 2 to go on like side quests to go talk to Steve Rogers in another universe. We tracked Loki for everywhere he was. The only time in the Loki series we saw like a big montage was in season 2 when he's going through the thousands of years trying to stop the sacred timeline temporal loom from exploding with like, you know, OB and Victor Timely and the others of the TVA over and over and over again, Groundhog Day style. And in that, he's not wearing the jacket, and he's singularly focused on that mission of trying to figure out the exact sequence of events to keep Victor Timely from spaghettifying. So he never had a side quest. So I just think this is a new form that Loki takes after becoming God of Stories. As God of Stories, he's able to like take an analyst form. And I think it's kind of sweet that he takes the analyst form of the stuff he was wearing when he was kind of just vibing the most with Mobius in season 1. This question again. Sorry it took me a while to get to it, but I appreciate all the super chats Texago asking. All right, trailer compared to all Avengers trailers. Do you think there is a possibility of a bad executive? I really hope Doomsday wins. I'm not sure what you mean by bad executive. But if I think back on all the trailers, I don't remember the trailer for the first Avengers film from 2012. I remember it at the end of the Captain America the First Avenger movie. And it was just like, it was cut the way trailers in the aughts were cut. It was very weird to look at it now. It was before the kind of social network revolution of YouTube trailers where really it was Little Children, or there's some other movie that people just like, it was edited to the sounds of a train, and then that inspired the Social Network trailer using the Swedish Girls Choir cover of Radiohead's Creep that didn't really use any footage for the most part from the Fincher movie. And then after that in 2011, that's when you started to see people make movies to be put on, trailers to be put on YouTube, and all the Marvel Studios films after that started to get more artistic. I love the Civil War trailer. I really think I think the first Infinity War trailer was really great. Other than the fact that it included that Hulk running shot that was not in the movie. But like everything, hearing Thanos' voiceover throughout it just felt really creepy and really effective. So I think that has been my favorite Avengers movie trailer. Hey, that Age of Ultron trailer was pretty great too. Like I think they started to use the strings on me stuff, like stuff that Ultron doesn't even say in the movie. James Spader's voice sounded great in that trailer. Hello. Thanks, Hannah Basso, for your super chat. Super chats are coming in fast, so I'm just going to move through them fast. But thank you for the flower. Thank you for the donation. Thanks for the gold coin. I think we mainly need to talk about is Gambit, bro. Looking like the Gambit we've been waiting for so long. Yeah, it's kind of the same concept art design from Deadpool and Wolverine, right? It's weird how much of a Gambit trailer this is. I'll say that. Like that it really threw me in April. I was like, man, they're really trying to sell this movie with Channing Tatum's Gambit. Okay, he's great in this though. Like, I think again, this is kind of making X-Men '97 required viewing. Gambit's going to be such a huge character this season in X-Men '97 in the arc that they're kind of exploring with him. So, and he's a great character who hasn't been given his proper due. Nope, I don't think he will. Do you think Spider-Man will reveal that Hulk will return in Doomsday? Yeah, post-credit scene for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Good question. I think there will be some post-credit scene that shows like how these characters, Peter Parker and Hulk, will end up together in Doomsday or Secret Wars. Do you think STD press? Let's meet up. Question: can you please explain Infinity Screen, a $50 ticket bundle they're selling? Okay, I don't know what the $50 ticket bundle is, but earlier in the stream it talked about my skepticism of the branding of Infinity Vision. And congrats on getting a Comic-Con press badge. Yeah, I'll be around. So if you see me, come say hi. I'll be in San Diego. I feel like we're watching Fox X-Men play X-Men '97 live action, hence why everything looks different. Yeah, I think there were some lessons learned on just how ready Marvel fans are just to see the yellow spandex, you know? And there's a lot of drama. It's not just like comic book boom booms of little kids in a sandbox. It's like these characters are fully dimensional in ways that like the Avengers and the Infinity Saga weren't always. But I agree with you. Thank you for the star. Do you think Dr. Doom's plan is to actually destroy the multiverse, or is he trying to save it in a way that makes him the villain? You know, I think they want to make him a protagonist more than just an outright villain. So destroying the multiverse, no, I don't think he's that nihilistic. But I do think he's trying to save it by creating Battleworld. Just joined, say may have covered it, but when we can expect the full trailer breakdown? Excited for it. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're gonna see it later today. Our editors are currently working on it. I've already shot it. It's currently in the post-production pipeline. It'll be let's see, it's 10:41 West Coast time. Expected around 3 p.m. at the earliest Pacific time, which would be 6 p.m. It's gonna be an evening watch for you while you eat your dinner. Enjoy our breakdown. Thanks for the donation. Do you think we see Valeria Richards maybe in Secret Wars? I don't know if this movie, but there are some kids that have been cast in this movie without specific characters identified with them. So I think there's going to be some new, younger characters who are introduced. I just think we'll see Doom's daughter, and maybe she has the name Valeria or something like that. Do you think there will be other Tony Stark variants? Why else would Loki be in the OG TVA uniform? I don't think we're going to see like Tony Stark, like Robert Downey Jr. playing a lot of clones in this movie. I think just for simplicity's sake, they want him to be kind of singular in this movie. To make him kind of have dozens of doppelgangers, I think will be too Kang-coded for the character and make killing any one of them feel less important. So I'd be surprised if we saw... I think it's possible that we see scenes in which, like, we flash back to Tony Stark in the 616 universe where Downey plays those scenes. Or when Battleworld starts, that there's, like, a superior Iron Man that Tony Stark appears as. But I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time with those characters. Thank you so much for your super chat. That's very kind of you, Disctopia. Love you. Okay, a question here. Thank you, Heavy. So is the Doom Tony Stark that failed to protect and love his family 3000 or something? Oh, okay. So are you saying that like this is a Doctor Doom who failed to protect his family? Yeah, but I don't think it's his failure. I just think other incursions kind of made that impossible for him. Let's talk about San Diego Comic-Con, asked here by Wab Soriano. SDCC will be insane. They already showed the trailer. What else is coming? Next set of movies? X-Men cast? Yeah, that's what we're all wondering here at New Rockstars, right? I'm really glad they dropped this trailer online to the public, because now we can all just like feast in this together and kind of set the table for what bigger things they might show exclusively to the people in the room at Hall H. 6,500 or so people. I think it's still going to be mostly Doomsday centered. I don't think we're going to see that much about X-Men or Secret Wars, but maybe they give us like a concept trailer or art for Secret Wars, but they're not going to want to spoil how Doomsday ends. So I think at this point they'll announce other big actors will be in Doomsday. My hope of hopes is that we see Halle Berry and Famke Janssen on that stage. Deadpool and Wolverine almost feels obvious. Spider-Man, Benedict Cumberbatch kind of feels obvious, but like getting the rest of the X-Men cast would make me lose my mind. And I do think they're going to make some announcements about X-Men, because I think you could still announce some of the X-Men cast without spoiling Doomsday or Secret Wars. But Kevin Feige was just asked about this by Joshua Horowitz, and he was kind of cryptic about how much the X-Men cast was planned. But he did confirm that Secret Wars will not be split into 2 movies, which is a huge relief. I was really worried that Secret Wars would be split into 2. I don't know if Secret Wars will be delayed to like a May 2028 release. I hope that they're able to still stick to that December 2027 release date. So that's what I think. I think it's going to be other surprise actors in Doomsday this Saturday. And I think maybe a slate. Maybe at this point he does say like, okay, X-Men movie release date. After that, we'll get Shang-Chi 2. After that, we'll get Black Panther 3, or some kind of combination of those next 3 movies. And then, you know, they're going to want to tell us like the future here. I think they're ready to do that. Hey, thanks, Kim. Saying my son now says, now I need a new Rockstars video every time we watch anything. You're definitely a constant in our house. Any Daredevil updates? I love Daredevil. I don't want to spoil anything, but you can see some set photos and videos of like other actors from the Netflix era who are going to show back up in season 3. It really does seem like season 3 is just like fulfilling our full dreams of like what we wanted to come back. It's going to feel like Defenders season 2 more than Daredevil Born Again season 3. But thank you, and you know, I hope that we can continue to live up to these expectations of helping you guys understand what happens after all these shows and movies that we love. And thank you for making us part of the viewing thing. I always love hearing when parents like watch us with their kids. Like as a parent myself, I can't wait for my son to be old enough so we can kind of watch media together, whether it's like a Marvel YouTube channel or just any kind of movie or TV show. Thank you, Bill. Just so you know, you're the GOAT. Been watching for years. Love what you do. Love from the UK. Thank you, Bill. I really, really appreciate the years that you've given us, and hopefully we can continue to deliver. Thank you, B. Jer. Do you think that Doom saved Gambit from the Void? Yeah, a lot of people thinking that. I almost so that. Did some other person tweet this, and now you guys are now subscribing to that theory? If so, it's not a bad theory. I think Doom can do better than this version of Gambit. And I don't think Doom needs Gambit right now. If they were going to do like the Death Gambit thing, but that's such an apocalypse thing. Yeah, I don't think Doom needs like a Legion of Warriors. I think he already has like Doctor Strange and Clea who would be serving him. I don't see how Gambit as this kind of like skilled warrior is it just like we have the accents team and we have like a weird Cajun accent with a Romanian Latvian accent. I think that I think there are other people who can serve what Doom is trying to do without just someone who and why would Gambit smile when he was being rescued up at Doom? Just a sling ring portal opening. I think if he saw Dr. Doom on the other side of the sling ring portal, he'd be a little like, close it, I'm good. But I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing that theory too much. I think it's totally possible. I just haven't thought of it before, and I could see that happening. I just didn't imagine that Doom would be like putting together his team, like gathering his horsemen the way Apocalypse does. And I think he does have a Black Order the way Thanos did, but it's the Black Swans, and I think if they're going to be sticking with that, like other sorcerers, I think are more useful to Doctor Doom than people have like mutant powers the way Gambit does. Another question from Big Boxy Figgy. For if the Fox X-Men have dealt with incursions, do you think Gambit, Toby, Spider-Man, and Deadpool, plus some others, are saved, stuck in this universe, which makes it more of a catalyst to have incursions? Let me think on that for a second. Oh, like they'll be spared. Um, yeah, I don't think we see Toby in this movie, but I do think a lot of these characters are going to be in Secret Wars. And I don't think it's so much that like Doom like spares people. I think that it's whoever survives when the incursion begins gets to live on in Battleworld, and those people are more likely to be superheroes with web slinging abilities, or mutants who can kind of fight through rubble, or people who have the technology to get into armored suits or onto life raft ships or something like that. And I don't think specifically the Fox X-Men have dealt with incursions yet. Maybe this is kind of building off of the theory that like the Fox X-Men have gone to the Tobey Spider-Man universe and dealt with an incursion conflict there. I don't think that's a confirmed theory yet. That's just like some kind of leak that might be fan fiction. But yeah, I think if you're referring to the Marvels post-credit scene, that like Hank McCoy kind of knew what that was about. I do think that maybe they have dealt with incursions before, but I don't think on this scale, and not ones that like have led to the destruction of their world. Another question here asking, was this identical to the CinemaCon trailer or more? It's mostly identical with the exception of the Loki shot, and there's a couple other smaller shots that were removed. There was this team up shot here where we got a wider version of the shot where we saw more of them. That was removed. And I believe these rocks might be new. Because this was under the sea before. Yeah, it feel like, but I don't think they're going to call them horsemen. I just think we're all watching X-Men 97 right now, so we're thinking about horsemen. But like Doom doesn't need or want horsemen. Anytime they'll have me. I love those guys. I need Downey to say, I want my bird. Like Ivan Vanko. Yeah, I love that. Is Loki able to not always be sitting at the end of time? Also, is that Cassie? Yeah, that is Cassie Lang here. Yeah. Catherine Newton is in this movie. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I don't know if Loki is anchored to that throne the way that we thought he was. If he can now walk around in an analyst uniform, because I don't think that's a flashback. I think Loki is now, this is in the present. Will Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man who snapped come back in any form? Yeah, I would love to see like another scene in the past with Downey just being Iron Man, like living in that memory, even if it's a recording on a screen in the TVA. Anyone notice there's a shot of Sue followed immediately by a shot of Namor? Okay, I hear what you're saying, that like, but I think this version of Sue loves her husband so much. But I think there will be a flirty energy coming from Namor. Ola from Puerto Rico, been watching your channel in Break Room for years. First time watching one of your lives. Thank you for joining us, Angel. I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Afternoon, Evie, with the Ratoons coming back to this one. Ratooness? Would it make sense for Robert Downey Jr. to be playing a Tony Stark variant? It just seems odd to me. Otherwise, lastly, how do casual fans scale Doom as a bigger threat than Thanos? Having trouble understanding the first part of what you said. With the return to this one, would it make sense for running? Well, I can answer this part. I think the way they've been describing Doctor Doom as a bigger threat than Thanos is just the sorcerer element. The fact that he has the specific rune and magical abilities that are self-taught that can withstand something that would... I mean, this same battle axe could cut through the 6 Infinity Stones of Thanos. The fact that Doom can stop it with 2 fingers, I think that's where you see the power scaling. Is he's got more of a drive than... I mean, Doom was just a Malthusian eco-terrorist who wanted to kill half of all eating people in the universe to avoid a consumption of natural resources. Doctor Doom has a more specific plan involved with 3 different worlds that he's trying to build a new battle world out of. Do you think Wanda will join Doom? I would love it. I mean, Elizabeth Olsen would be like my dream announcement at CinemaCon. Scarlet Witch and Doomsday. I don't think we're going to see it, though. Thank you. How does Brandon Day connect to Doomsday? I think whatever the answer is to the mutant question in the movie, what's going on with Jean Grey, I think that will be kind of our answer for what's going on. Thank you. Watching New Rockstars for years, I just want to say thank you to everyone for your commitment to quality coverage of all of our favorites. I really appreciate you, F. Patterson. Why do you think Thor was fighting Dr. Doom alone? Because everyone else is dead. Or maybe everyone else hasn't gotten there yet. Maybe they're all inside and he's just the first on the front. I mean, it's a pretty short fight. Maybe the rest of them are right behind him. But maybe they're all like, hey, you got the God Killer weapon. You take care of it. This person asking, do you think they chose not to use Tom Cruise's superior Iron Man in Multiverse of Madness so that they could leave him as an option for Iron Man in a different universe? I don't think it's like you left Tom Cruise on the cutting room floor. I think if you get Tom Cruise on the phone to be in your movie, he's in the movie. I think that was always talked about. I think the only one who's left on the cutting room floor was Daniel Craig as Balder the Brave. And I think it's bigger than the movie itself if you have Tom Cruise show up like that. I would love to see it. I just think like, I don't even think Tom Cruise would want to do it because he's like, I'm all about Digger in 2026, you know? Like yes, Digger will be done, but I think he doesn't want to look like a guy who's cashing in and it's just doing these projects because he believes in them. And I think there might even be some kind of like respect of what Downey is doing. Like, I don't think you're going to have Tom Cruise play a version of Tony Stark in the same movie where Robert Downey Jr. is playing a different character. That's just my thinking. But again, everything's possible in Secret Wars. I keep punting to Secret Wars for all of these dream scenarios because I think we're going to have to wait to see how Doomsday ends and how crazy of a big swing that is to see what's even possible for Secret Wars. Unc alert. That's me. Will the sun shine on Thor and Loki once again? Yes, I do think so. Are we going to get a reaction video from your colleagues who had not seen it already before? Well, the issue is everyone at this point in the morning has seen it. I don't think you're going to see an authentic reaction from anyone at New Rockstars. But there will be an episode of The Break Room today, and I'm sure Brian and Berg will talk about it. Do you think the old Steve from Endgame already experienced Doomsday? Maybe the events of Doom are happening in part because of him staying in the past. Yes, I think that too. I think him saying to Sam, I don't think I will tell you about what happened. I think that was old man Steve reflecting back on what he went through in this movie. Do you notice the new Avengers with the Wakandans? Yes, I did see that shot here. We know that they're in this location, but like specifically around the throne. Where is it? Where is it? Right around here. Just past it. Yeah, you got Ghost, Joaquin Torres, The Thing, Bucky, John Walker, and probably others in this room. They're all in the room with the Wakandans. To me, my X-Men. Hey, love doing these with you guys. You think Loki's gonna die? Doom would want his power. Great theory. I agree. Do we get one last OP Magneto moment? Well, Zach was saying he doesn't think Charles or Erik are ever going to stand in this movie. And I'm inclined to agree. These two guys seem to be seated. But, you know, Ian McKellen has said in interviews that he's going to, like, destroy New Jersey. And he's going to have a big moment. But the Russo brothers have said that might have been overstated. But there is, like, a big New Jersey element in the movie. I do think we're going to see this guy summon, like, reverse the electromagnetic poles. I mean, the fact that, like, we see the cores, the magnetic cores of the planet here. I mean, that's something Magneto can help with. He can change the polarity of an entire planet. And I think this is an opportunity to let Ian McKellen shine in that regard. Getting into San Diego tomorrow morning for Comic-Con. I can't wait to see what they will show us now. The goal is to run into you. I'll be around. I'll be wearing shirts like this. I'll probably be wearing a hat to keep my face out of the sun. But if you see me, and if I'm not like beelining somewhere to try to get to a recording, come say hi. I mean, you can come say hi anyway. I just won't have time really to chat with you, but I'll, you know, give you a high five. Maybe take a quick selfie. But yeah, or you're not even asking for a selfie. I would love to just chat with you if you're around. I don't know my exact schedule where I'll be at any given time. I'm going to be running around a lot. I'll have a very busy schedule, but I love going to these conventions to meet people like you and to chat with you and see what you're all about. Okay, seeing Loki at Steve's house at the end of the trailer makes me think something might be going on with Steve, evil Steve, or Steve acting up. You're referring to this shot here. I don't know if that's definitely Loki at Steve's house, but if I had to guess, let's see. You can kind of see these curtains. I'll take a look at these curtains with it's just some kind of house that has trees. And there were a lot of trees outside of his house where they shot that. Yeah, but it doesn't make me think that something's going on at the end. Like, I don't see evil Steve here. I think a lot of people always assume, like, when something seems to be plainly obvious, what if there's some kind of deceit going on here? I do think we'll see Captain Hydra in this movie. I just don't think this is the shot where it's happening. Who's on the far right when Shuri shakes the thing's hand? Here, I'll show you. Far right. Okay, so that would be John Walker. You can kind of see his bent shield here, and that's his. That's Wyatt Russell's chin, and that's his beret. And we know he's in this location. How do you think they'll handle the Robert Downey Jr. reveal? Good question. I think he's going to have an opening scene in the Doomstadt, in his armory. I think he'll be armored there, but then when he meets these other Avengers, he might present himself to the Fantastic Four as a friend, as an ally. And that's why Thor is saying, that's impossible. Do they address Kang? I think they address the events of Quantumania. I don't think we hear the name Kang spoken. I believe Steve brought someone with him, and I think that's Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, I think we're aligned there. Fit Dad CEO. Hey, buy Dave's book. He has a great joke book, and he was really nice to send me a nice pair of dad shorts, a hat, and a shirt that I wear all the time. And what's really great, it's a shirt that says "Got Dad Jokes." I was taking my son to the park, and you got to remember, if you're wearing a shirt that says "Got Dad Jokes," other people will ask you to come up with a dad joke. So I, luckily, because I did short form improv for many years, can really do those world's worst and 185 one-liners really fast. And I think I improvised something like, oh, I would have a joke, but I think it would just be too punny. And she laughed. I don't even think that was that good. But it's a great shirt. Great dude. Thanks, Fit Dad. Deadpool Thor scene. Oh, like, why is Thor crying? I think that might come in Secret Wars. That seemed to be really far ahead in the future. Do you think the poster of Doom leads to the leak about Captain America true? I'm trying to remember what you mean, the leak about Captain America. I know what you're talking about. We looked at the poster earlier. I don't think that leads to anything about Captain America. I think that poster is all about, like, Victor Von Doom, his wife and child, or Victor Von Doom and his mother. You can see 3 Earths on the map. I'm pretty sure those are the Earths colliding. Yeah. Yep. Good observation there. That is definitely what's happening there. And I'm trying to see, do you even see the numbers? Like, you see the 3 Earths under a name here, but they correspond to the colors over here. You see yellow, yellow, blue, blue, and then red, red. Any variant Spider-Man do you think will be in Doomsday? Maybe in a post-credit scene. We see the Spider Island. We see, like, you wouldn't even need to bring back Andrew Garfield. You could just have him masked, and we know by the suit design and the way that he moves that it's him. This person asking, this is peak. I think Steve is like Yellow Jacket and time runs out. Oh, or in the comics, we'll see Doom killing Thor by ripping his arm off. Oh, poor Thor. He's been through so much. I don't think that would be how Thor dies, but I see what you're saying here. I mean, I think it's gonna be brutal. I think it's gonna be a very violent movie. It'll be PG-13 at the end of the day, but you can, like, get... They did a lot for PG-13 with Multiverse of Madness, showing a character explode, his head implode at one point, a character get bisected. I think as violent as that was, could be as violent as all of this is. This person asking, so is there going to be 2 Wolverines, or what happened to the OG one? Because it's not 2029, they all would be dead. What do you think? I don't think we'll see 2 Wolverines in this, but technically, I think there are 2 Wolverines alive in the 10005 universe timeline, because that's beyond the year of Logan or of Deadpool and Wolverine. That was in 2029. That old man Wolverine hasn't died yet. And meanwhile, we have drunk Wolverine at the end of the movie in that year of 2024. So 2 Wolverines. I think stuff like that could just be attributed to the incursions, to the glitches in the reality that have happened. Like, you guys are screwing with stuff that shouldn't be screwed with. Would Odin be able to defeat Doctor Doom? And do we believe that Loki will play an integral role in helping defeat Doom? I don't think it'll be Loki in Secret Wars. I think it'll be like the kids. I think it'll be like Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. It'll be Franklin Richards. I think Loki is gonna be instrumental in Doom's power up in this movie. Do you think Sentry's void will appear in this movie? Maybe Doom tries to pull Sentry's darker side out. Yeah, I do think that's gonna happen. I mean, all we really see of the void here is, Lewis Pullman over here in the corner. But I do think his void is going to show itself. I don't think Marvel Studios is done with that yet. This person saying, I heard we're going to get a montage of all the MCU characters at the end reacting to the end of the multiverse. Any thoughts? Much love from Seattle. In that phony Avengers Kang Dynasty screenplay that we read at UCB has a similar moment of all the characters reacting to it. I think the reactions that they show will be the ones that matter to this story and this plot. I think bringing in a random character to react to things is not as cool as showing like characters on the other side of Battle World forming that are just like now survivors in this world. Because if the implication is that billions of people die, I'm kind of like more interested in hearing and seeing just random civilians in all these worlds reacting to it. Can't wait to see the Avengers' reaction to Sentinels. Wonder if anyone will compare them to Tony's Ultron program. I mean, yeah, this whole idea of robots that you got to deal with these drones. Here, I'll get to the shot here. Yeah, now my thinking is that the Sentinels may already be destroyed by the time they get there, but there was that like leaked art of from ILM that looks like we're gonna have a bunch of Avengers lining up from some Doom-powered Sentinels, and I think it's more the Doom magic controlling these things that people will be more afraid of. But yeah, I'm super excited for that as well. Johnny Storm is hugging Franklin so they don't get him back. Oh, let's take a look at that shot. Ooh, I like that idea. That's very, very blonde hair. I still think that's his sister, but I like the idea that this could be Franklin Richards. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's hard to tell because Sue and Franklin have the same kind of hair tone. Yeah, great theory. Sue Storm versus Namor. Dr. Doom recruits Namor, perhaps. I don't think they're fighting in this. I think they're kind of working together. I know the editing in the trailer makes it look like they're opposed. I think they're both trying to solve the same crisis just in different ways. She's emitting a force field. He is flying around the space to maybe try to create a cyclone that repels back these waves. What are you most shocked about in the trailer? I'm shocked, honestly, this Loki shot kind of blew my mind. Seeing Loki off of the throne. The fact that we saw Loki at all in the trailer kind of shocks me. I'm shocked that they released it online before Comic-Con. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that they did. Enigma Reed asking, we find out Happy Hogan is now part of the TVA and demanding badges. That's why the badges are there. I love that. This person with a theory. Loki, God of Stories, now has the power to project himself down to Avengers to warn assist them against Doom. Thoughts? I kind of like, we know Loki can duplication cast. I always thought he needs a line of sight to duplication cast. He can't like be like the Watcher and project himself to different timelines. But he's also the God of Stories. Maybe he can. Maybe he's tethered to all stories, and any story that he's grasping onto that moment, he can be like, project an analyst version of myself down there. And an analyst is less upsetting than seeing me with this big weird robe and a crown. Because a big weird robe and the crown is kind of like a little too much, especially if Steve Rogers says, I don't like people telling everyone to kneel. This person asking, what if he can time slip back to that version of Loki? Yeah, that's kind of the time slipping that I was talking about in Loki Season 2. He could kind of just slip back into earlier and past eras, which he did. He definitely did do that when he was unstuck in time. Possible. I think that's very possible. But it's just like, if he's doing that, then that version of Loki's not really informed by being God of Stories. That was like a an awareness, a recognition that he made after that time slipping chaotic period. It was the time slipping that was like a journey of him learning what he had to do, and talking with He Who Remains and figuring all that out. So it's possible it would just be like an era of Loki who was time slipping before he really understood what his role was as like governor of the multiverse. You're saying right here, it does look like a ring. Love this detail. Good spot. Why does Loki have a ring? Well, we know that he is... Well, first off, I don't know if this is Loki's hands. This could be Steve Rogers' hands as Loki is handing him his card. So that's one. Like, Loki's like, here's my card, here's my badge, my designation. I'm not a villain anymore. I'm working for something called the TVA. So this is Steve Rogers' hands. I don't think they would have kept Tom Hiddleston's wedding band in the shot. So that's my explanation for why there's a wedding band. Like, does Tom Hiddleston have this perfect manicure, or is that more of a Chris Evans manicure? That's what I think. But great observation. Yeah, another question about the time slipping. Thank you for the super chat. Which MCU character could beat Doom? I don't think any MCU character can beat Doom. Not by themselves. I mean, let's see. Fully powered cosmic Jean Grey. Wanda Maximoff at the height of her abilities. I don't think so. I don't think any one sorcerer can beat Doctor Doom. He's put in his 10,000 hours already. The rest of these characters are still figuring themselves out. Yeah, he's like, you know, the whole Batman prep time argument. Doom is the guy who's put in all the prep time. Incursion greater than they fight, greater than Thor, or incursion leads to them fighting, leads to Thor arriving after being dominated by Doctor Doom, leading to they lose, leading to Steve arrives. Trailer certainly feels a bit more punchy than previous. Okay, I guess I could see that. Thor arrives. I think the incursions are going to be drawn out throughout the film. I think the incursions begin at the beginning of the film, but they're not completed until the end of the film. And I don't think the losing happens until... I think Steve arrives before whatever this false defeat is. A reminder to everyone to stay hydrated. Thanks for the Doom acting. I thought it could have been better, but thank you. Don't kill my Gambit. I'm still not recovered from X-Men 97. 3, why can't we get correct eyes for Gambit? Even fanboys can get it right. Oh, yeah. Hey, there's still time. We still got several months of VFX that they can do. Which X-Man that hadn't been announced should be here, not Wolverine? Yeah, so I think Storm, Halle Berry Storm, or Famke Janssen Jean Grey would be my preference there. Are we going to see why Thor is crying? Yes, I just think it'll be in Secret Wars, not this movie. This person saying, I've heard the theory that Cap in the trailer could be a Hydra variant. What are your thoughts on this? I don't think in this trailer. All right, you guys need to tell me in the comments which influencer said this. Not to say that you guys didn't come to this organically, but anytime there's like multiple people asking the question, there's someone who tweeted this, you're watching someone else's live stream, you're watching someone else, Just the Nobodies or Soups, or one of these guys said, it's actually Captain Hydra, blah, 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 and now you're all asking me about it. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. If I'm looking in the live stream comments right now, Meat Wife. It wasn't the Meat Wife who said that. It's Den of Nerds. It's always one of them. Yeah, no, I don't think it's... I'm on the record saying it is not. This is just our Steve. This is not evil Captain Hydra. Just because Captain Hydra wouldn't be able to summon Mjolnir. I don't think he would have been worthy to summon Mjolnir. This is a recreation of the Endgame moment. It's just people saying stuff just to say stuff. Nothing against Josh from Den of Nerds. But I'm not going to answer any more questions about the Captain Hydra thing. I'll say thank you for your super chat, but I'm done with it. What if Loki disguises himself? Loki looks more professional with the jacket. Yeah, I agree. This is something we were talking about before, that like if he took his real form to Steve, he would like freak Steve out. I think Thor will get killed by Doom in front of Loki. Thor says the sun will shine on us again. Reversal of the scene in Infinity War. Oh, that would be brutal. Oh, I don't think I could handle that. But then, like, could he make good on that promise? At that point, if he dies, if the other one dies, you can't really say the sun. You would say the sun is shining on us right now. Don't make any promises that we'll see each other again. I need Doomsday to have Captain Marvel and Photon, and of course Ms. Marvel, but I won't push my luck. Also, I love you, New Rockstars. Thank you. Yeah, this is another weird example of, like, why not just announce Tiana Paris and Brie Larson for this? Like, we saw Tiana Paris in that X-Men universe with Beast. It's weird that she hasn't been included. Like, I don't know what you're waiting for. I feel like it's impossible to tell this story building off of those events without including them in it. Do we think this will explain or show the events leading up to Logan, where Xavier cuts off the X-Men, or offs the X-Men? Oh, gotcha. Like what damage Doom causes his big seizures. You know, I think Charles's seizures in the 2017 Logan film were really just brought on by old age and trauma that he went through. I don't think they're going to say that something else specific caused them. And I also just think James Mangold didn't ever want to show exactly, like, Charles Xavier killing off those X-Men. I think just him remembering it was, like, the story he wanted to tell in that film. But, like, damn, I would love to see that. Like, I would love to see, like, what it looked like. But in this movie, all the X-Men seem to be alive, and there's some other external threat that's getting them. This person's saying, so at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, we see Gambit get saved with what is assumed a sling ring portal. It looks like the Sigma Sanctorum gets hit, but no sign of Strange. Also, will we get Toby? Yeah, I think it's, you know, some people theorizing it could be Dr. Doom using magic to get him out of there, but there seemed to be a look of recognition from Channing Tatum's face that I was thinking it was just Deadpool who rescued him. I do think we'll see Tobey Maguire again. Just, I think this movie's already pretty stuffed. This person's theory says, my theory, either Trevor Slattery or Coulson are the anchor beings of the 616. Hope the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast joins Secret Wars. Yeah, I mean, these are like big name, like Ben Kingsley showing up, Clark Gregg showing up. It seems like a bigger scale event. But, you know, if you have Battle Worlds, you can have all rungs of society in a ladder. And maybe there is a reality where, like, you know, Lola is flying around, the Triskellion's still there. There's life model decoys walking about. Hey, but again, I don't know how you do Secret Wars. It's just one movie if you make room for everyone like that. But all you really need to do is just make an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reboot, a revival, a season 8 of the show, and I'm satisfied with that. Watching since the Civil War trailer. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Are we going to see Thor get his spine ripped out? See, that might be a little too grisly for a PG-13 movie. Deadpool and Wolverine had some gnarly shots, but that was R-rated. No, but I do think we see Thanos turn into a skeleton. I think just stuffing your hand in a chest and quickly turning someone into a skeleton isn't wet or sloshy, so you can get away with that. Do you think we will see a short origin story with Doom within the movie Doomsday? Yeah, you know, I think the movie will open in the Doomstadt Armory, and we'll hear about Doom's origin moment. Let's see. Yeah, we've seen all this before. Iron Man, Steve Rogers during Infinity War. Yep. Is Doctor Doom fighting Thor in the Void? I think this location is outside the X-Mansion, but you know what? I don't see the X-Mansion in the background. This could be part of the Void, for all I know. Or part of the X-Mansion that's been relocated to the Void. Yeah, totally. Totally, that's possible. It's just, we see these trees and these statues that just, like, looks like enough of the X-Mansion that's still there. But maybe it's in the process of being kind of like Shredder lifting Manhattan and above into the sky. It's currently rising up in the sky, up into Battle World. Do you think Doom will find Galactus stranded in space and offer Franklin to Galactus in exchange for his services? Whoa, that's insane. You know, I think if you have Franklin, he's already the inheritor of Galactus's power cosmic. So I don't know if you need Galactus anymore at that point. If you're that powerful as Doctor Doom and you can create entire planets out of incursions of 3 other planets, do you need a Devourer of Worlds at that point? I think he would view as Galactus as kind of the old Unk Galactus. I don't need you. And I also don't think Doctor Doom is like gonna offer up a child in that kind of sacrificial way. I think he views children as the potential future that he wants to build. But man, I'm not done with Galactus. I need to see Galactus in some form. Again, punt to Secret Wars, right? Let's see a world where Galactus had won. Or we see Galen of Taz home universe, the 6th iteration of the universe before all of this. Or just one of the places is Galactus's head, or his old ship is a place that they could visit. How do we have Gambit but not Deadpool and Wolverine? Great question. I think we need to have Deadpool and Wolverine in this movie for it to make sense. Love the accurate Mystique costume or character design. I agree. I think Mystique looks awesome in this movie. I love the suit she's wearing. I love the weird pattern on her face, the shorter red hair, the scaly texture of her shapeshifting. Just, I mean, it's like fish scales the way it always was. And the way it blends with the blue eyeshadow that Yelena was already wearing. It's so great. And it's fun for Florence Pugh to play 2 different versions of herself. I don't drink energy drinks. I drink cold brew. Stoke for cold brew. Do you think the X-Men we saw in Marvels are the same that we see in Avengers Doomsday? And do you think we'll see Monica Rambeau again? Yeah, we talked about this a little bit already, but yeah, I do think the Beast we saw in that is the Beast that Kelsey Grammer is playing in Doomsday. I don't know how they do this movie without bringing back Monica Rambeau. She was there. She was kind of our bridge character to that. So it's weird to me that they haven't announced her yet. How much of Secret Wars will be shown at San Diego Comic-Con? Not much. I'm still a little worried that they're going to say Doomsday will get delayed and that all these other big announcements are just trying to like soften the blow. But I don't think we're going to see too much of it. Maybe some concept art, maybe like a sizzle reel trailer. I think we'll know by this time next week whether Secret Wars is still on track to come out December 17th, 2027. Do you think we will see other Marvel actors from older movies in Secret Wars? Yes, I do. I think a Ghost Rider. I think Toby or Andrew. Maybe you do bring back Blade. Wesley Snipes comes back as Blade. I don't know. It's just interesting how Kevin Feige answered Josh Horowitz's question about what happened with the Mahershala Ali Blade. He's like, well, it was great that we got Wesley Snipes back. And it's like, why is he still front of mind for you when you're talking about Blade? Interesting, really interesting answers and questions asked by Josh in that interview. Watch the whole thing. The shot with the Wakandans and Fantastic Four, is that supposed to be the same location we see Namor with the dry sea? Yeah, I think that's the Namor throne room. So this is like the ocean floor, right? Surging seawater that's being pushed back by some force. Maybe it is like a weird polarity issue with whatever this new planet's core is. And then when we see them here, yeah, all of this is supposed to be underwater. That's a megalodon jawbone that used to be underwater. So I do think that they extracted this from 616 Earth to Battleworld. And we're seeing one of the first locations enter Battleworld. Who could Thor be talking about when he says, I fought with people stronger than all of us put together? I think he's talking about a number of people, right? He is talking about, well, he's fought alongside Tony Stark. He's fought alongside Jane Foster, Heimdall, Odin, Loki. I mean, Loki is arguably, as God of Stories, stronger than all of them put together. Maybe he's just kind of paying respect to the dead. Is Sue Storm the one pushing the water back? I would think so, based on this trailer, but in this shot, she doesn't really seem to be actively pushing it back, right? I guess she's looking over there, but you don't see her like in this shot. So I think there's some other effect. The water even seems to be moving in slow motion, so I think we're seeing like Battleworld coming together here in the void. What are your thoughts on Elektra, Blade, Gambit, X-23, and so on as guardians to Loki? He sends them in to fight Doom, since Loki is picking his team. A lot of assumptions being made there. I don't know if Loki is like picking his team. I don't think that's like I don't know if that's what he's trying to do. And I don't know if we're going to see, Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes and Daphne Keane all coming back with Gambit in this movie. Just because, again, it's a huge stuffed cast, and there's other people who seem to be more aligned with characters where they need to be. I think we're okay just sending off those characters, and they were just one-time appearances in Deadpool and Wolverine. But, you know, again, punting to Secret Wars. I think, like, they're in this void where Battleworld is forming, and there's no reason why a lot of those characters can't come back and populate other regions of Battleworld that are forming. Do you think this movie will spend an extended amount of time with just Doom going from universe to universe and destroying them? See, I would love that. I would love just like a montage starting with Doom in the armory. And imagine like he's hammering the sounds of the pings that we heard during the credits of Endgame. Ping, ping, ping. And so Dr. Doom is just working on his armor. He's talking about like the sacrifices he's made. It's kind of like the opening montage of Oppenheimer where he's talking about like where he's looking at paintings and he's throwing glass goblets at the wall to figure out how quantum dynamics work. And so with every ping of the hammer is like another universe that he went to and destroyed. Another ping is hirking at Thanos. Another ping is like a spider universe destroyed. Another ping is like another alternate X-Men universe destroyed. Another ping is like a new Xandar destroyed. You know, the 41 or 42 different regions of Battleworld, you know, we're only down to the last 3 of them here, and the other 39 of them are still out there in pieces that are coming together. I'll be counting the pings when I see this opening scene, and if there's 39 of them, I'll know about an hour, 15 minutes into the movie that theory was right. This person asking, or just saying, much love from Texas, big fan of New Rockstars. Well, thank you to everybody in Texas. Not everybody, but most of you. I got like the one eyebrow kid who lives in San Antonio who will never forgive you. Loki ID held by Spider-Man 1 with the wedding ring. Maybe Steve. Yeah, I'm thinking Steve. Hey, I clicked to it right on the shot there. Yeah, I think that's too much Marvel overload. I think that's got to be Steve. I was just saying Loki will do Groundhog Day style replay of all past movies to try to stop Doom, basically being Molecule Man. See, I think the idea of Groundhog Daying through it, we already saw the Groundhog Day montage in Loki Season 2, and I don't think they're going to give that much of a spotlight to Loki. And I also don't think we're going to revisit past Marvel films just because the Russos already did that with the Time Heist. So I think it's going to be limited how much of the callbacks and the member berries we get to the Infinity Saga. I think there's going to be specific things from Endgame and Infinity War that come back here. And I think they're going to try to connect everything that we saw throughout the Multiverse Saga. So we're going to see a lot of like references to the Loki series, to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, to Deadpool and Wolverine, things of that nature, rather than going back to like Avengers 2012 or Age of Ultron. This person asking, who gets recasted? Who stays after Secret Wars? Talked about this a little bit earlier. I think you're going to see like Florence Pugh stick around. I think, you know, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson will still be there. I think whatever new X-Men get cast with Sadie Sink's generation, maybe they announce that at Comic-Con. They will be there after Secret Wars. Tom Holland's going to be still playing Spider-Man for at least one more movie after Secret Wars, I think. Just because Brand New Day is going to make so much money. And some of the Thunderbolts. Yeah, you know, I mentioned Florence Pugh as Yelena. But I think the MCU is very conscious of like trying to keep the biggest stars on the front lineup. And nothing against people like Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth, but I think they just mean something to the millennial generation. And I think even those actors recognize that. I think we see Loki in the Captain America teaser. It's the shot where the Captain America suit is picked up by a man with a long sleeve white shirt. I'll have to go back and look at that. Stand by. To the archives. I'm pretty sure that was just Steve, but, you know, I won't say no, never. So much AI results. Aha. Oh, I see what you're saying. But I think that's Steve in the same shirt he's wearing at the end of the trailer. No, it's a No, that's a cardigan? I think he is wearing a shirt that's under the jacket here. I know, I'm like reacting to something that's not on screen with you guys. Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like a rolled up kind of 3/4 length baseball tee, but that arm is not. No offense to Tom Hiddleston, but that's not his arm. That's Chris Evans' arm. I've spent too long looking at Chris Evans' arm. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying that Loki doesn't show up in the scene. I just think that shot, Steve. Okay, could this be Loki visiting Carter and Rogers, maybe warning about the incursion Steve caused or something? Yeah, I think that is kind of what's happening here. Will we see Natasha return in any way? I don't think we'll see Scarlett Johansson in this. Loki enchants every timeline as he grabs them. He is theoretically omnipresent throughout the multiverse now. He can show up anywhere, anytime. All right. If you say so. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that explanation. Do you expect the Endgame to re-release, the Endgame re-release that directly ties into Doomsday? If the rumors are new scenes in the beginning, middle, and end, do they all connect to Doomsday or just the end? Ooh. See, I don't think the Endgame re-release, also called Avengers Endgame Encore, is going to be significantly different from Endgame. I don't think the Russo brothers want to, like, change what that movie's central story was. And then if you change the opening scene of that movie, you could add an interesting midpoint scene, and then, of course, a new post-credit scene. I don't think we're going to see a new intro. Maybe there'll be, like, an intro from the filmmakers that give, like, a trailer for Doomsday, like a new trailer. But I think once the movie begins, like, it'll still begin with, like, Clint Barton with his daughter doing the target practice, and then they dust. And then it will go to Tony Stark with Nebula on the spacecraft stranded in space. I think that whole opening, the Russo brothers consider to be, like, they're too respectful of the crew they worked with and the actors they worked with to insert a new opening scene over that. But I do think there'll be, like, a trailer that precedes that, or some other kind of, like, preview scene with the Russo brothers introducing it that precedes that. And I think anything they add is designed to get you excited for Doomsday and Infinity Vision. Does Reed hold Sam back because of Bucky's demise? I know what shot you're talking about, but Sam doesn't look like, hold me back. I think he's just like, he's going to try to fight in this moment. But does Sam look distraught? Also, Bucky's not in this location. Bucky splits off with the other crew to the Talokan Void area. So I don't think that's what's happening there. You see Bucky here. He goes somewhere else. I'd love to see Oscar Isaac come back as Moon Knight. So would I. Doom took the role of Loki to rid his burden. I don't think that's, like, he's ridding any burden. I think Loki's fine taking on that burden. But maybe that's something Doom will say. I think Thor will get killed by Doom in front of Loki. Yes. Thank you for asking that again. That's crazy. Will Storm be in Doomsday or Secret Wars? God, I hope. That's what I'm hoping for Saturday. Yeah, give me a Halle Berry entrance. I think she's ready. I think she posted, like, whatever, the 30-year anniversary or the 25-year anniversary of that movie. 26 years? I don't know what the anniversary event was, but yeah, I think she wants to do it. Do you think that Vision flew to Doctor Doom? No, I don't think so. I think we're going to see that answer in Vision Quest. You heard him? Uh-oh. What have I done? Do we see Loki play Molecule Man's role in the Secret Wars comic a la Hulk instead of Silver Surfer, referring to Infinity War? Also, Fantastic Four survive through Secret Wars as the wife, the sun, and the wall. Yes, I think that will be a very horrifying way that they survive the events of Doomsday into Secret Wars. I also think the Fantastic Four are going to survive Secret Wars in general. I think they cast these 4 actors because they see a future for them. I would be shocked if we didn't get a second Fantastic Four movie, maybe with a smaller budget, or maybe with just, like, a different kind of story that follows Franklin. But yeah, I do think we see a Fantastic Four sequel at some point in the next 8 years. Do you think Sentry's void appears? Doom might want to pull Sentry's dark side to aid him keep up the great work. Much love from Wales. Yes, I do think that we're going to see Sentry take on that kind of shadow self. I think that power is something that maybe is one type of magic that Doom can't harness on his own, and that's why he needs Sentry. So I do think we will see that. I think that's still unexplored and not fully defeated. What's the difference between Infinity Vision versus other PLFs like Cinemark, XD, Dolby, 4K? Well, they're all at least 4K. But I know IMAX is its own thing, but what about the rest of those PLFs? Well, Infinity Vision is a categorical designation for all of those other PLFs you talked about. So if you look through Infinity Vision, this is my understanding, you can see, I don't know if Cinemark XD is specifically included in that, but like Dolby, Screen X, AMC Prime, there's like some of these other PLFs that are all just kind of housed within the option of Infinity Vision. Infinity Vision is just like Marvel's way of saying, we have approved this other PLF as a cool way to see Doomsday. So I hope that answers your question, Sarah. I get it. It's weird. It's like a weird thing that they're doing. Ha. Do you think Thor and Loki will reunite in this movie, and how will their reunion be if they do? Yeah, I do think that Thor and Loki reunite. I think some reference to the sun rising on us once again. I think it'll be really sad. Another question. So this isn't about Doomsday. What do you think about Jack Quaid as Morph in X-Men? Patrick Schwarzenegger, Cyclops. I like both of those actors a lot. I thought they were both great in The Boys and Gen V. I like the idea of a Patrick Schwarzenegger Cyclops. At one point, he acted like he didn't know what that was, but he tweeted about it recently last year. I was like, you'd be great. Jack Quaid, I think, could play a lot of different characters as one of the X-Men. But I do have to say, I think both of those actors might be getting a little too old. Like we have Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. So we're really talking about people in their like early 20s rather than people who are in their 30s. What if Loki is the one who comes to Steve and tells him about Doom? I don't know if Loki knows about Doom yet, but I do think he's going to tell him like, hey, this was a violation of the timeline. I think Thor will get killed by Doom in front of Loki. Here we go. This one again. Thank you for all of your super chats. Unrelated, do you believe that Matt Reeves will get a Batman 3? I think way too soon to tell. I mean, look, the Batman Part 2, we're still years away from the Batman Part 2. So I think he's interested. I'm sure he'd be interested. But the thing is like, God, how long is it going to take him to do a Batman Part 3? We're talking like based off of the 6-year gap between these. Now we're talking about 2034. Like it takes him forever to make these movies. Yep, we saw this earlier. So, you see a Doom, Captain Hydra, and Doctor Strange team. Or is it just Doombots and Sentinels? I kind of feel like I don't see Doom aligned with other kind of like iconic weirdos in that way. I do see him leading kind of a cult of sorcerers. Like I think Doctor Strange and maybe Clea are aligned with Doom in helping him do what he's doing. But I think the only people he's interested in working with are sorcerers in this regard, reality warpers. And yeah, I don't see a Captain Hydra serving him throughout the movie. I see a Captain Hydra at the end of the movie. Looking forward, who will and should ultimately defeat Doom? The children. I don't know. I don't think Doom should be defeated in that way. I think it's not about defeating a villain anymore. I think it's about like regaining control over this world and making the world what you want it to be. And maybe Doom, it helps with that. Like, he's okay with his successor. Star-Lord will return? Well, the Guardians Volume 3 post-credits scene said he would. I don't know if it's in this movie, though. Is there any room for White Vision to return in this film? We'll know after Vision Quest. There's room for it. But I think it's too soon to say. Yeah, I think that is like a location. We could see the golden palaces of Asgard and Battleworld show up as one of the regions of Battleworld. Never believed in that Deadpool Thor scene. Thought it was a joke. If it happens in the next 2 movies, I'll give you guys 50 pounds. Thanks for the stream. It did seem like it was a joke. Like, looking back on it, it didn't seem like necessarily something that Sean Levy's like, haha, just you wait. Do you think Bucky survives this movie? No. If I had to put money on it, I would say no. 2-part question. 1, who do you think defeats Doctor Doom? Just answer that question. And 2, what power does Gaia use when she defeats him? Oh, man. Yeah, maybe she can turn part of her body into, I don't know, the Endgame rat. And the Endgame rat just runs across Herbie's gears in some way that figure out some algorithm that can undo Doctor Strange's magic control over the Sentinels. The Sentinels turn around and fire all at Doctor Doom, and it's the Gaia rat tail that saved the day. Fox versus MCU. As a fan, who do you think could or would win? You mean the Fox versus MCU characters, or just like the general franchise? I think the MCU already did win that. But with this lineup of X-Men versus this lineup of Marvel heroes, I think even that, the 616 MCU is certainly going to win that. Is Steve there with Thor in that scene? There's an illusion. Looks decent. Looks too confident for the situation. Yeah, yes. I think we're overthinking this, guys. That is just Steve. Will Sentry act as Molecule Man from the Hickman run? Depends specifically. I don't think there's like Sentry. There's like countless Sentries. But I do think the idea of using him as a conduit, for the Beyonders or Loki's power, yeah, I think that's possible. Do you think anyone will turn on the Avengers or Fantastic Four? Yes, I think Doom will be the one who does that. Thank you. Will it be X-Men versus the other heroes versus Doctor Doom? Versus other heroes. X-Men versus other heroes. Yeah, I think everyone is going to end up fighting Doctor Doom, but just maybe not throughout the whole movie. I think at first there's going to be like squabbles between factions of Avengers and X-Men as they're all trying to figure out what's going on. But I think ultimately they're going to wise up and realize Doctor Doom is the one they're fighting, and then they'll team up in different factions. If I had to put money on this, no. Unless we see like his masked form in a spider island that forms this battle world at the end of the movie. I do think we're going to have Benedict Cumberbatch confirmed for this movie. I think you might be right. I think these Fox X-Men characters might just be in this movie and not in Secret Wars. America Chavez isn't in this Doomsday. I don't think she's in either, but Xochitl Gomez will be at the red carpet. Do you think the Guardians of the Galaxy will return? Not in this movie, but maybe in a new Xandar in Secret Wars. Kamala, Kate Bishop, Wiccan, Riri, Gaia. Stop asking for Gaia to be in this movie. She's not going to be in this movie. And I think a lot of these characters, again, a lot of these Phase 4 streaming characters will just not be in this Russo Brothers movie. Jessica and I were talking about this on one of the sneak peeks recently. Like how many, or maybe it's this weekend's Road to Doomsday. Like how many of these shows did the Russo brothers actively watch? Not that many, I don't think. I mean, maybe they watched them or they were briefed on them, but I just don't think they have the relationship with all of these characters and all these Disney Plus streaming shows. Is Strange returning? Yes, I think so. Do you think we're going to get God Emperor Doom? Yes, at the end of this movie. Change the enchantment. No, I don't think so. Could be Doctor Doom? Disagree. I don't think he could. Duval! Thanks for all you do. I've been watching for 8 years. Thank you. How's Jacksonville doing right now? Do you go to, what are the great restaurants? Orsay? Biscotti's? Those are the ones I remember on the west side. Out of left field, what is the percentage of a chance that we see some kind of gods, Omega level beings like the Beyonders? Because of the comics, of course, they help Mr. Fantastic defeat him. I don't think it's gonna be the Beyonders. I think they have other tools within the MCU that they can use for that. I don't think they want to introduce another kind of pantheon of above beings beyond the Celestials. I would as well. What happened to Avengers Endgame Encore tickets? Are they on? I don't think they're for sale yet. Do you think Wanda will return in this movie? No, but I hope she does. Before Thor fights Doom, the statue behind him looks like Tyr, lack of hand. You know, I think it's just a damaged statue. I don't think it's specifically designed to not have a hand. This one, I think, is what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, doesn't it kind of look like an Avengers A on Cap's head there? I don't have any particular fan cast in mind for Morph. I kind of want them to cast someone I don't know. I love the character of Morph, but I kind of want a complete newcomer in that role. Do you think it is possible Steve came on Fantastic Four ship because he caused an incursion that created Earth 828? Yeah. I do think that's what happened. Do you think Monica, Bree, and Young Avengers will be here? Also, is Nick Fury coming back? I think Monica and Bree, Tiona and Bree. I don't think the Young Avengers will, but I do think the Marvels will be in here. Yeah, I think the post-credit scene is going to reference Incursion starting for Brand New Day. Been watching since about 2016. Thank you so much. Does Doom find Galactus? I don't think Galactus is going to factor too much into Doomsday, but maybe we see like a corpse of Galactus or some other Galactus in Battleworld. Do you think Yelena see with Mystique is mislead and Mystique actually turns into Nat? Oh, so it's like, do you think the 7th Infinity Stone will play a part? I don't think there will be a 7th Infinity Stone. I think the Russo brothers are done with the Infinity Stones. However, I'm trying to bring up this Mystique shot. Mystique turns into Nat. Oh, Natasha. No, just because, like, we got to remember the way things ended with Scarlett Johansson and Disney. She had to kind of sue Disney to get the money that she was owed for the Black Widow release when they released that on streaming. Not to say things are bad between them, and I think she would do a future movie with Disney, but I think in this movie, she's just expensive, and she deserves to be paid what she's paid. So I don't think we're going to see Natasha in this movie. I'd love to see a Doctor Doom appearance in that movie's post-credit scene. The person in the background of that shot is Johnny Storm. What if seeing Loki after Doom rids him of his burden, inferring he gives him the role? Loki later realized it had been a mistake. I don't think Loki, if he were God of Stories, I think he would know who he's giving it to. I think it's going to be more of a hostile takeover. Talked about that earlier. I think there's going to be a new intro scene that's kind of a trailer for Doomsday. I think there's going to be a new post-credit scene to Endgame. And there's going to be some bonus material, stuff that they shot for Doomsday that they kind of finished Snyder Cut style, or they shot for Endgame, that will be in the middle of the movie. Specifically, there's a big trench argument with all the characters in a trench. And I think they already shot it. They removed it for pacing reasons. I bet they could add that back in during the Battle of Earth. Yeah, I do think he'll get it. Loki in the concept art poster looks somewhat opaque. I didn't see. Oh, okay, yeah. Opaque. I think he's just very small. I wonder if that's what he looks like on the throne, or at least. I think that's just kind of how he looks in the end of the Loki series. Not mentioned earlier in the live, but what do you think of Namor is doing in his scene? I don't have a clue what he could be doing. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't freaking know what's going on. But I do think this is like the formation of Battleworld that we're seeing. Part of Talokan has been transported to the Void, the dumping ground, as Battleworld is beginning. And I think he is trying to use a particular thing that was part of his structure in the undersea kingdom of Talokan that connected to the core of the planet to give them light down there. And that he's trying to reverse that magnetic core to extract Talokan from Battleworld and restore it back with 616. It's messy and complicated, and I know it's not a great answer, but that's the best explanation I could think of. Any characters we might see in Secret Wars we haven't seen or featured yet? Yeah, I mean, there's so many questions about Secret Wars. Hopefully we get answers at Comic-Con. It's really the sky's the limit. Like, it really is just like a complete fan-casted dream right now. And until we start to close some of these doors and see how Doomsday ends and see some concept arts or announcements for Secret Wars, like, I think at the very least we'll see like a new T'Challa. We'll see new X-Men. We'll see Nova. Characters like that will be important to the Mutant Saga and the future of Marvel Studios. Does Doom already have the power cosmic? Even 6 Infinity Stones can stop Stormbreaker, but magic can't. He does have some advanced power beyond what Thanos had. I don't know if they're going to call it the power cosmic, though. Why did we see Simu Liu in the Bahrain BTS photo? But we only saw Shang-Chi in the X-Mansion. Good question. I think there's going to be more to this. I think characters are going to be going back and forth. I think maybe after the X-Mansion is destroyed, some other characters end up there. Maybe they drop them off in one place and they go somewhere else. Maybe there was other sound stages that they used for Bahrain that Simu had to be there for. But it's a good question. We always have shots in the trailer not appearing in the actual film. Which of these shots won't appear in the final film? It's not always, but it is common. More common than you think. It wouldn't surprise me if we just see different takes of some of these fight scenes. Maybe like this shot of Scott. Maybe some of these insert close-ups of the other Wakandans. Yeah, but I think most of these shots will be in the movie. In Secret Wars, what universes do you think will collide? Do you think it would be a representation of the new Secret Wars? Maybe we'll get Miles. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a Spider Island there where like, but I don't think that's going to be the Miles. I think we already have a Miles in the 616 universe, right? Like reference in Spider-Man Homecoming. That's going to be our Miles. But yeah, I say sky's the limit. Like, I think it's gonna make Doomsday look pale by comparison of the diversity of different worlds that we could see. Like, we're gonna see like a new Middle Earth with a vast, diverse landscape patchwork of different Marvel worlds. And so, yeah, I mean, just go through the list of Jonathan Hickman's map, and you'll see like each of these worlds is crazy in its own right. The X-Men 97 music has to play when they are kicking behind the film. Yeah, Ron Wasserman's theme needs to be heard in this movie. I want to hear the da-na-na-na-na-na. Any of the Eternals are coming back? Nope, I don't think. Could Ghost Rider? Nope. I don't think he would be able to beat Doom. But I hope one of the announcements this weekend at Comic-Con is a Midnight Suns movie. Shoo, Fly. Get out of here, Fly. Beat it, Fly. Fly. Fly away. I think 150 Thor says it's not possible to Loki disguised as Steve Rogers. It's just Steve, guys. What do you think of the likeliness of Wanda returning in Doomsday Secret Wars 616, Wanda or variant? Unlikely. It's what I want, but I don't think we're going to get it. Oh, why do you think Thor is with the Fantastic Four and is Doom with them? Yes, I think Doom is with them. I think Thor... I don't know why Thor starts this movie with the Fantastic Four. I do think that he will go to the 828 universe. But I think all the incursions are making it so that these atmospheres are all kind of linked, and Thor could just fly or Bifrost Stormbreaker up to this other dimension and talk to them like, what do you guys know what's going on? Saying this kind of feels like how they set up Ultron, where Doom is initially kind of with them, and then there is the ominous reveal, and then it's too late. Was Ultron ever with them? He was kind of like an AI that Tony briefly controlled, but like from his first appearance 20 minutes into that movie, he's very clearly the villain of it. What characters would you like most to see fight in Secret Wars? Let's see. I really want to see a fight between different spider beings. I want to see a black-suited Tom Holland Spider-Man fighting some Doombots or something like that. Yeah. Since they dropped the trailer today, the week of Comic-Con, what in the Tesseract will they be showing for the Hall H panel? Yeah, that's what I'm most excited about here, right? Like, there's still so much more they could show. I'm really glad they dropped this on Monday morning, giving us the full week to just chew on this until they hit us with some bigger stuff on Saturday. I think a fuller cast for Doomsday. Maybe they have like a huge cast even beyond what we saw. You know, there were promises in 2023 or 2024 of like Doomsday or the fifth Avengers movie having 60 people in it. What if they get all 61, number one on the call sheets out there, and we get Benedict Cumberbatch, we get Halle Berry, Famke Janssen, Tom Holland, Mark Ruffalo is out there too. All people who so far have not been announced. Yeah, I think there could be other big names that are in Doomsday that we don't know about. I mean, Charlize Theron showing up there is pretty exciting. And like this is the full cast. Or maybe there's like additional footage. Maybe we see the opening 5 minutes of the movie. That would be pretty wild. I mean, if they have big surprises in that, I don't think they would show that to these 6,500 people because they don't want the world finding out about these big twists just through word of mouth. So it'd be more for like vibes to hype us up. Maybe a concept trailer for Secret Wars. Do you think Cap will get or wear the OG suit at any point? What do you think Doctor Strange's role is? He's not in the trailer. He puts the suit away in the drawer. I know. He's kind of casual Friday Cap. Not as interested. But yeah, I think Doctor Strange is going to be one of these priests working with the priestesses of the Black Swans in this role with Clea to think that they're serving the multiverse by working with Doctor Doom. Like they respect him. So I think he is going to be kind of on a villainous side of this. Yeah, this is the broken Mjolnir from Thor: Love and Thunder that reformed. Any thoughts on if there will be an Iron Man from an early timeline or alternate universe? I think not in the main runtime of this movie. Maybe at like the very end of this movie. Is Monica supposed to? Yes, she is. It's weird that she isn't in the marketing. Devil's advocate for a bit. What are your expert concerns with the Russos after their films bombed? Still waiting on New Rockstars crew in MX for tacos. Look. I think they are still the guys who made Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, and my favorite Marvel movie of Captain America: Winter Soldier. It's like specifically they know how to play in the Marvel sandbox better than anyone. They know how to manage movies of this scale with these egos, how to structure a story really smartly. Now, yes, they have taken some bold swings with movies like Gray Man, Cherry, Electric State, and I think bug close up. I think Electric State is something that like they were trying to adapt another IP, and it wasn't for me. But like we've seen filmmakers do amazing work outside of the MCU, and when they get to the MCU, it just doesn't work. Chloe Zhao with the Eternals, you know, like the MCU is just a particular sandbox where you have to have a filmmaker who knows how to work within this machine to make a great story. And I think the Russo brothers are the best at it, you know? So I'm not concerned about their other movies underperforming. I think there will always be flaws with any director you have to plug into the Marvel machine. There's going to be some awkwardness with it, right? There's going to be some narrative priorities that are underserved. And that's just been the case with the MCU. But I do think they are kind of what the MCU needs right now. And I think Doomsday is, in their vision of Doomsday, is what the MCU needs right now. And everything that I've seen from the movie has just like restored that confidence. I think those rumors are bullshit. I think Toby's universe in the opening scene of Doomsday, that's just some 4chan bullshit. I don't buy it. Do you think Steve will go and get Peter Parker because he's the only one who knows who he is? Oh, you think Steve still remembers? I don't know. It doesn't affect people in other universes, but I don't think that's he'll remember. We don't know if Peter Parker's going to be in Doomsday. Nope, I don't think so. That's Johnny Storm. Could the reason Thor says that's impossible because Chris Evans is actually a Thor variant? Nope, it's just Steve. Gracias. Could Doom have plucked all the mutant kids like X-23 off of the Logan world to use as his army? I don't think Doom is making a child army in that regard, but I do think he's trying to like populate his new universe with the younger generation. And I do think, I don't know if it'll all be like the mutant kids like X-23 and then, you know, the one playing Earthquake and all the other ones who are running up through North Dakota. I think the only one of those who's going to come back is Daphne Keane. Captain Wolverine ever mentioned fighting together like in World War II? That'd be fun. Will any of the future Doctor Strange saw come into play? And do we get an answer to what the Ancient One said to Hulk about an Endgame about Strange? Strange being the best of us? Yeah, I do think a lot of what the Ancient One told Hulk on the rooftop is going to be very important to Doomsday, specifically removing a stone from the flow of time and what that does. I think that dark timeline is kind of like what Doom is. Thank you. Yep. T Stark, bottom right mural, snapping his fingers. Don't know. Loki's certain Power Rangers could smoke too. Sure. What are your thoughts on the Marvels showing up? I think we gotta have Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers in this story. They ruined Herbie's design. Look at they massacred my boy. Doesn't he seem to have the same design that he had in Fantastic Four First Steps? I think it looks pretty good. Hey, a little New Rockstars Easter egg. He looks like 2XL here with the glowing eyes. New Rockstars Easter egg, go watch my interview with Matt Shackman and with Herbie and turn on captions for the Herbie part. That's all I will say. Does Loki know about Kevin? I don't think anybody other than She-Hulk knows about Kevin. Correct. Loki was not in the CinemaCon trailer. This was added for this one. Seeing widespread outrage on X is pissing me off. I haven't really spent a lot of time on Twitter X today, and I'm glad. I probably won't go over to Twitter or X today. Johnny, Alexi, Bob, and Scott go. Yeah, we don't really see them in other locations, which says that, are they part of the group that goes to the TVA? There's a question. I'm going to cut off any super chats here. So I'll continue answering a few more, but I may not get to your super chat. I have a lot of other things that I have to do today, but I appreciate you guys. Do you think we see Tom Holland Venom in Secret Wars or Tom Hardy Venom? I would say Tom Holland in the black suit. I don't know if they're going to get Tom Hardy in there. I think it's more likely we see Topher Grace as Venom. Could we get PS2 actors as Hulk variants in Secret Wars? Past actors as Hulk variants. So like Eric Bana, Edward Norton, Lou Ferrigno. That'd be fun. Get some of those guys to at least voice like the older version, the bearded older Thor. Do you think this movie is going to be more of a setup versus ultimate fan service, to them all being paid off with Secret Wars being all about fan service? I think both of these movies are fan service. All MCU movies are kind of set up arguably, and all of them are fan service. That's just like the nature of the sandbox that these movies are. I don't know if I'm fully getting the nuance of your question, but I do think this will be a movie in its own right. I think it's going to be a story just about like how you face the end of the world and whether your world needs to end for another world to thrive. I think it's a perfectly fine thematic question to ask. In the way that I think Infinity War was a better film than Endgame was. I think the plot structure works better. And even though Endgame is more payoff to the Infinity Saga at large, I just think like in the pacing of Infinity War, like seeing the Avengers get their ass kicked over and over again was just so narratively satisfying. And I think the structure of Infinity War cooked harder. And I think there were structural elements in Endgame that were just like, because it had to serve as the climax of the Infinity Saga, they had to do that stuff. But it ultimately made for a movie that, as a movie, just was not as strong as Infinity War. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like the first half of a movie, especially if you are going into it making it very clear that this is like a 2-part movie event. Yeah, we mentioned this earlier, but thank you for your super chat. Yep, touched on that one too. Do you think Doom comes from the timeline that's been affected by the time heist? Yes. I don't think it's that particular timeline from 2014, but I do think like the events of the time heist, Steve deciding to stay in the past with Peggy Carter, I think that affected Doom's reality. I wish I cared for this show more than I actually do. I don't know if there's anything more I could say to this 2-hour live stream that would convince you. But that's okay. Just understand that like not every trailer is always going to connect with you, and maybe a future trailer will, or maybe once you see the movie, you'll disregard whatever your feelings were at the trailer. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I saw a trailer and I'm like, I don't understand what this movie is. A good example, One Battle After Another was my favorite movie of 2025. I saw the trailer for that movie and I'm like, what is this shit? Like, that trailer made no sense to me. I couldn't understand what the tone of the movie was. Very, very confused. I saw the movie, blown away. So I think it's common and possible for the marketing not always to align with what you need. Sentry's there. He's on the side of the frame. I don't think it's confirmed that he's in the house, but I do think he's probably there. Touched on this. Thank you, though, Tay. And then Miss Tovi, sorry if you touched on this, but do you see the poster that came with the trailer with the angels? Yeah, I think that's either Doom with his mom, Cynthia, or Doom's daughter or son with the Doom's ex-wife of Cynthia. Could go either way. Do you think Loki goes back in time to his timeline violation where Dr. Doom's coming to get his baby? Loki goes back to tell Steve this I don't know if Dr. Doom's coming to get his baby. I think everyone looked at that first teaser and said, Doom's going there. He's going to take the kid. I don't know if that's what happens. Bah, bah, bah. There's the only lights on in this building, and this fly's like, this is my home. Yeah, I think he is going to tell Steve, like, hey, you shouldn't have done this. There's going to be consequences to this. I'm not going to prune you, but you should just know. Be careful. Johnny Storm. Do you guys notice that the person holding the TVA card has a wedding ring? Yep, we were talking about that. Sorry, just catching up to it now. Yeah, I don't know why they're not in the market yet. Since Daredevil Doomsday is said to pick up right after the events of Endgame, do you think characters like Namor and the Fantastic Four will be explained? I think like the start of the events, but obviously it's not going to like take place before Black Panther Wakanda Forever happens, if that makes sense. Like I think the impact of what Steve Rogers did and the other Avengers did will be part of the prelude of Avengers Doomsday, and it's going to be set like, remember, 14 months after the events of Thunderbolts. So that's like 2027 or 2028 in the MCU timeline. So at that point, Wakanda Forever will have already happened. Because she's awesome. We all love her. Question about Spider-Man. Do you think what Tom Speeder know about Norman Osborn or Kurt Connors there introduced? Yeah, I guess if you're talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, if there was like a new Norman Osborn, I think Peter Parker would be like, okay, I met one that looked like Willem Dafoe, and that guy was crazy, and he killed my aunt. So it's a good question, but I do think he is forgiving enough to variants who might just have a different destiny. If that makes sense. I mean, he was already willing to forgive them before they killed Aunt May, even after he killed Aunt May. And if it's a kid, you know. Correct. No recording in Hall H, similar to CinemaCon. They police those aisles heavily. There will be no recording of any footage that's shown. Though sometimes if it's just people on stage talking, you are allowed to record that. It's just when footage is shown, phones away, laptops down, and they will like they'll grab you and throw you out if you even look like meta glasses, all of it. They are way more on top of it than you can ever imagine. I think Doom, Thor, Steve, Sentry. That's all I know about for now. Rumored Avengers moves out. No, I don't think there's any. No, I don't think there's an Avengers Battle World between Doomsday and Secret Wars, unless they really delay Secret Wars. I love that theory that there's a connection there. You mess with time, it messes back. I think that was more of like there was a bigger potential to connect that to Kang than to Doctor Doom, but I love that idea. Hey, thanks for the gift membership. 2 Wolverines in Secret Wars. Hey, yeah. I think it's more likely that Hugh Jackman shows up in Doomsday, dies with the other X-Men in Doomsday, and there's a new Wolverine who gets introduced in Secret Wars, rather than like 2 Wolverines. Because we just had a movie with multiple Wolverines in it, you know? So if you do that again, you don't really get the same impact. Yeah, so again, everybody, I will be in Hall H this weekend. I'll be there for many of the big panels, but I'll specifically be there for the Marvel panel. And I will be live tweeting everything that I see. The New Rockstars staff here in the studio will be live streaming from 4 to 7:30 or so p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be like 7 to 10:30 p.m. East Coast time, covering all the big news that comes out of that panel. They'll be following me on Twitter. They'll be following other sources on Twitter. I'll be as soon as I can calling into that show and giving my eyewitness account. Jessica will also be in the room. She'll be able to give her eyewitness account. I'll do a big summary video that recaps everything that I saw that will publish late into the night, Saturday night going into Sunday morning. If there's any specific footage, I will do a video talking about that specific footage. Yeah, just tune into New Rockstars from like Thursday through Sunday. We're going to have your full coverage. Everything that comes out of that convention, we'll have you covered. Some last minute ones, but guys, these are our last ones for real. Thank you for these super chats. Does Catherine Newton posting a pic of her and Scott mean that she's a bigger role than we think? I think she was just confirming that she's in the movie at all. Theory, in his quest to eliminate sorcerers, 616 Mordo finds a window to the multiverse, encounters Dr. Doom, and gets killed. That's why he hasn't been seen. I don't think Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this movie, and I think they should need to have him in Midnight Suns, and that's where he can pick up the too many sorcerers question. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this 2-hour live stream. I gotta call it here. But this was a lot of fun to go through this trailer with you guys. I love you all so much. Holy crap, we had so many people join us for this stream. Again, the new Rockstars Easter egg breakdown of this trailer, frame by frame. That's coming out in like a few hours. So thanks for your patience. I tried to answer as many questions as I could here. I love you guys. And yeah, we'll have our breakdown of House of the Dragon, the next episode, coming either really late tonight or tomorrow. We'll have the next episode breakdown of X-Men 97 coming on Wednesday. We'll have a big We Did Your Homework video for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And then going into the weekend, we will be covering everything Comic-Con. This is a lot of fun. If you can support us by going to nerdright.shop, we have all kinds of great designs. Doomsday-inspired designs, all kinds of other designs. Subscribe to New Rockstars. Saturday's episode of The Road to Doomsday will cover Infinity War. We get into some really great conversational points, so tune in for that. Thank you all. If you're in San Diego, I hope I can see you. If not, I'll see you on the internet. Bye, everybody.